Chapter 304. Zhu Xin never thought that Black Snake would be this shameless. Although Lin Yuan admitted that the sect was under Zhu Xin's control, he didn't mention a word about collecting the Heart of Purgatory. Was he planning to go back on his word? Zhu Xin's eyes suddenly became gloomy. I don't think that someone of your status would keep pressuring a little intelligence perception demonic beast, right? Or do you have some other ideas? Lin Yuan's eyes were obviously a bit of ridicule. Zhu Xin's face stiffened, and he said angrily, "Black Snake, don't play this game with me. Although the Heart of Purgatory isn't something that I must have, it's just to improve my cultivation progress. Compared to this, I don't like people lying to me. You know what will happen to you if I give up on obtaining the Heart of Purgatory, right?" Lin Yuan was silent. He didn't know what the Heart of Purgatory was, but if it could make an existence like Zhu Xin come out to set it up, it must be something extraordinary. So he really didn't think that Zhu Xin would give up on the Heart of Purgatory. But then again, although he wasn't afraid of Zhu Xin directly killing him, Zhu Xin just released a rumor and the nearby demon beast clans, including the Green Marsh clan, didn't dare to provoke him. It seemed that Zhu Xin was definitely an overlord in the Hungduan mountain range. Even if he wasn't as strong as the three beast kings, he definitely wasn't far off. Lin Yuan could now smoothly manage the northern frontier because of Subaru's support. A great beast king level existence personally came to suppress him? That scene was too beautiful. Lin Yuan really didn't dare to think about it. Scared? Hehe, I thought you weren't afraid of anything. Zhu Xin sneered and said with a gloomy face, "Black Snake, you know my secret, but I also know some of your little secrets. Do you think I've been paying attention to you for a day or two? Where did those strange demon beasts around you come from? Can you explain it clearly? Also, the dragon blood in your body is inexplicably becoming purer and purer, you." As Zhu Xin spoke, she suddenly noticed that Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had discovered something very interesting. At that time, Zhu Xin's heart suddenly quivered. She didn't continue speaking, but her eyes swept back and forth, as if she wanted to find something from the Black Snake. Especially at that moment, he even felt an aura of death above his head. It was as if some indescribably terrifying existence had passed through the endless void and looked at him. "You." Behind you. Zhu Xin swallowed her saliva and said in a trembling voice. Previously, it was said that there was a demon the arch behind the Black Serpent, but it still didn't believe it. After all, it had observed the Black Serpent for so long, and no one knew better than it whether there were other forces behind the Black Serpent. But from the looks of it now, not only was there an ancient demonic emperor behind the Black Snake, but it was also a demonic emperor at his peak. Just by glancing at it from across the endless void, it felt the terror of death. What kind of terrifying existence was this? With such strength, not to mention re-establishing the ancient demonic court, even if it swept across the entire Tianwu continent, no one would dare to stand up and say no. But such a terrifying existence refused to show itself. Instead, it put the Black Serpent out in the open for the world to see, enjoying all the riches that the Black Serpent should not have enjoyed. Perhaps, this was a big shot. But whether or not there was a demonic emperor behind the Black Serpent, he was no longer interested, because he had already lost interest in the Black Serpent. Compared to the Black Serpent, there was a real substitute in the northern frontier. Although it was just a glimpse, Zhu Xin could still feel the noble dragon blood in Ao Qian's body. Although it was not as pure as the Black Serpent's, the blood in her body was more noble. Zhu Xin leaned forward, a cold look in his eyes, and said coldly, "Black Serpent, there is no need for us to be enemies. As long as you are willing to cooperate with me, not only will I not continue to be your enemy, I can even form an alliance with you." Recently, the Beast Lord Kirin has found many suitable successors. With your talent, you should be one of them, right? The other successors all have the support of the desolate demonic realm, but you have nothing. Could it be? At this point, Zhu Xin paused, and said tentatively, "Can you bring out the demonic emperor behind you? I have to admit that among all the successors, your background is the most powerful. But if the demonic emperor behind you wanted to show himself, he would not have put you in this position." Although he did not know what the death threat was, he could still feel the threat from the other party. He could not reveal the other party's existence. Even if he knew, He had to continue playing dumb. Otherwise, he would be directly wiped out by the other party's terrifying power. This was the message that the other party had just conveyed. Originally, Jushin did not want to mention this again, but now that only he and the Black Serpent were here, he did not need to worry too much about mentioning the demonic emperor. He only needed to tell the Black Serpent these words and then bury them in his heart. Lin Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. Although he did not know why, he always felt that everyone who saw him felt that there was a demonic emperor from the ancient demonic court behind him. If he did not know that it was just something he made up to fool Shunan, he might have believed it himself. However, Jushin's words had indeed struck Lin Yuan's heart. The other successors that the Beast Lord Chelin had set his eyes on, regardless of their own strength or methods, would more or less have a desolate demon realm expert backing them. Even if they didn't have one, the entire clan would still have a few mountain lords. After all, some of the successors might not have been chosen for their own sake. It was only because they had powerful backing that they became targets for the Beast Lord Chelin's consideration. Of course, the chances of someone like that becoming the new Beast King were not high. The successor of the demonic Beast Court did not have a rule that said that they had to choose a suitable Beast King. If the new Beast King was willing, he could pass the position of Beast King to a member of his clan at any time. Of course, if the new Beast King was not strong enough, he would still be pulled down by other demonic beast clans in the forest. The theory of the law of the jungle was just that realistic. If the demonic beasts wanted to become Beast King, they just had to act. However, the problem now was that Lin Yuan did not have a desolate demon realm existence behind him. His strength was only at the peak of the wisdom realm. If Beast King Kirin was about to change positions, Lin Yuan might even be assassinated by some old bastard. Chapter 305. Cooperating with Mo Xin was like asking a tiger for its skin. These purgatory beasts that disguised themselves as ordinary demonic beasts were not very smart. They might become extremely irritable if provoked slightly. However, Mo Xin, who could control a group of purgatory beasts and even suppress their ferocious nature, was definitely an exception. To be able to climb to a position comparable to a great beast king as a purgatory beast, Mo Xin's strength and means were not inferior to those old foxes Lin Yuan had seen before. In fact, she was even better at enduring. If Lin Yuan could reach a cooperative relationship with Mo Xin, it seemed that there was indeed a desolate demon realm existence behind him. Moreover, it was a desolate demon that was comparable to a great beast king. However, seriously speaking, the relationship between Lin Yuan and Mo Xin could not be described as harmonious at all. There were two reasons for maintaining peace between the two sides. First, Lin Yuan's current strength was not enough, so he could not fall out with this purgatory beast who lusted after his body. Second, it was because of the existence of the Beast King Kirin. Although Lin Yuan did not know what level the Beast King Kirin had reached in the desolate demon realm, the Beast King Kirin's strength was definitely enough to crush Mo Xin, who was also in the desolate demon realm. This was also the reason why Mo Xin did not dare to fall out with Lin Yuan. If the Beast King Kirin was replaced, Mo Xin would soon lose his fear of Lin Yuan. He might even kill Lin Yuan and take control of the Hungduan Mountains himself. Therefore, Mo Xin's proposal was complete nonsense in Lin Yuan's eyes. After all, although these guys all think that there is a demon emperor behind them, in fact, Lin Yuan himself still has the most right to say whether there is a demon emperor behind them or not. He is just a cheater with a system. He is really not a chess piece that the big boss arranged in the Hungduan Mountains. The Beast King Kirin was real. He could be seen and touched. Therefore, as long as the Beast King Kirin was alive, Mo Xin's fear of Kirin would remain. However, the shifter emperor behind Kirin was different. After all, it was only a legendary existence. It was fine to not see him for a day or two, but after a long time, some people would think that Lin Yuan was just making up a shifter emperor to scare them. What do you want? Lin Yuan slightly narrowed his eyes and took the initiative to ask. Mo Xin licked his lips and sneered, "Didn't a dragon race that came to find you some time ago? I want you to cooperate with me and trick that dragon race to collect the heart of purgatory. Once I devour it, the biggest problem between us will no longer exist. It's good for both of us. What do you think?" Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and almost blurted out the word F***ck off. Ao Qian's status in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas was definitely not low. It would be fine if she left Lin Yuan's territory safely. However, if something happened to Ao Qian in his territory, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas would be the first to settle the score with him. By then, no matter how many lives he had, he wouldn't be enough for these dragons to kill. Seeing that Lin Yuan didn't speak, Mo Xin's eyes hardened. However, he knew that this wasn't the time to push too hard. He could only narrow his eyes and say, "Black Snake, I'll give you enough time to consider. As long as this dragon race doesn't leave your territory, I can wait patiently for your reply. However, if this dragon race leaves, we will be in a situation where we won't rest until one of us dies." Lin Yuan just snorted at Mo Xin's threat. "If you're so awesome, why didn't I see you go to the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas and capture a dragon race to go with your wine?" Watching Zhu Xin leave, the waves in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes slowly jumped. It's here. Someone was making a wish in the Blackwater Dragon King Temple. After all, there was still a period where there were no believers. Therefore, Lin Yuan didn't have the qualifications to sit high in the sky like the gods in his previous life and completely ignore the suffering of the world. Therefore, in the face of a mortal's prayer, Lin Yuan still had to respond. Blackwater Dragon King Temple, Dragon King Hall. A beautiful woman in luxurious clothes knelt on a futon with her hands clasped together. Next to her was a priest who was muttering something. It was said that he was communicating with the gods. However, Lin Yuan didn't know who this priest was communicating with. In any case, he couldn't understand this kind of bird language. The golden snake statue twisted, and soon, a transparent snake head drilled out of the statue. A pair of vertical pupils fixed on the rich woman who had her hands clasped together. In a dignified voice, it said, "Mortal, speak your wish." Seeing that the black snake had responded so quickly, a touch of joy flashed across the beautiful woman's face. Then, she slowly began to speak her wish. The beautiful woman's surname was Zhen. Her husband was a rich merchant from the Shunwu dynasty. Some time ago, when he came to Shunning City to trade goods, he disappeared without a trace. She almost asked all her friends and looked for a lot of connections, but she didn't get any news. It was as if her husband had mysteriously disappeared from the world. In order to find out her husband's whereabouts, the beautiful woman even went to the Zizai courtyard. She donated a lot of money, but she didn't get any response from the gods. For this kind of situation, the Zen master of the Zizai courtyard didn't just push the blame away once or twice. He very skillfully told her that the gods didn't respond to her because she was not sincere. In desperation, the beautiful woman heard that the Shunwu dynasty had just conferred a god in the northern frontier. Although it was a god who ruled the water realm, it was still a god, wasn't it? Anyway, in the eyes of a mortal like her, a god should be omniscient and omnipotent. So, she didn't care about her desperate behavior at all. She simply went to the Blackwater Dragon King Temple that had just been built. Even she didn't believe it, but the black snake really quickly gave her a response. Looking for someone, a touch of helplessness flashed across Lin Yuan's vertical pupils. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Special mission activated. The First Believer's Prayer. Name: The First Believer's Prayer. Description: as the new Dragon King of the Northern Frontier, nothing in this land can escape your eyes. Please help the woman surnamed Zhen find her husband. Reward: obtain a fanatic believer, unlock a subfunction of the incense model, conversion, punishment, none subfunction, conversion affiliation, incense model function. The host can convert the power of incense into various kinds of energy. At the same time the system prompt sounded, Lin Yuan took a deep breath and looked at the beautiful woman meaningfully. Fortunately, the other party's wish was only to find her husband. If it was really a guy who came to ask for a child with a lot of money, Lin Yuan reckoned that he would directly give up this mission. Although the reward was quite generous, if he couldn't do something, he should give up before the punishment. Was he going to brace himself and trick the other party? Chapter 306. With my blood, I grant your wish. Lin Yuan's voice slowly sounded, his pair of vertical pupils fixed on the beautiful woman's face. His main body far away in Shunning City also simultaneously activated the blood sacrifice wishing technique. The beautiful woman was just an ordinary person, so her wish shouldn't be difficult to fulfill. After all, it was very difficult for a cultivator to marry an ordinary person and still be so loving. Therefore, Lin Yuan speculated that the beautiful woman's husband should also be an ordinary person, so finding this person didn't require much blood at all. But just to be safe, Lin Yuan still extracted 1/7 of his blood at once as a sacrifice for the blood sacrifice wishing technique. However, after the 1/7 of his blood was extracted, Lin Yuan's expression instantly stiffened, because he didn't receive any prompt from the blood sacrifice wishing technique. The causality technique always had a certain failure rate, but the blood sacrifice wishing technique was a special technique that could increase the success rate through sacrifices. For example, if Lin Yuan wanted to summon a thunderstorm now, he only needed a few drops of blood to do it. After all, he had already become a peak wisdom realm demon beast. As his strength gradually increased, doing something similar was just a thought away, and he didn't even need to pay a sacrifice. But now the technique failed because the system determined that 1/7 of Lin Yuan's blood was simply not enough to find the beautiful woman's husband. This was a very thought-provoking matter. Was the beautiful woman's husband extraordinary, or was the existence that captured the beautiful woman's husband extraordinary, or was it both? I really don't believe it. Lin Yuan's pupils suddenly contracted, and he clenched his teeth and began to make a ruthless decision. After all, this was the first time the Blackwater Dragon King showed his skills after becoming the main god of the northern frontier. If he failed or was humiliated, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to face himself. Moreover, the mission reward was quite generous, so Lin Yuan didn't want to give up. 1/3 of the blood in Lin Yuan's body mysteriously evaporated. Lin Yuan, who was coiled up in the room, suddenly felt his aura wither. He gasped for air as if he would die at any moment. Except for some special creatures, most creatures would die once they lost too much blood. They didn't have to wait for all the blood in their bodies to be drained. Therefore, the previous 1/7 and the current 1/3 of his blood was a dangerous number for Lin Yuan. After all, he was just a cheater with a system. His body wasn't digitized like a game character to the point that he could run and jump with only 1% of his HP left. At this moment, in the Blackwater Dragon King Temple, Lin Yuan's divine sense shook violently and almost dissipated. The beautiful woman and the priestess beside her were shocked. Who would have thought that the newly appointed god of the northern region would almost vanish into thin air just by trying to figure out the whereabouts of a human? That, Lord Dragon King. The beautiful woman opened her mouth, but didn't know what to say. Although she didn't believe that the Blackwater Dragon King could find her husband, he was still helping her. Therefore, she didn't say a word even if she wanted to. After all, the Dragon King in front of her was much better than other people. Your husband is in Shunning City, in the Qiao family in the east of the city. Before the beautiful woman could finish speaking, Lin Yuan had already opened his mouth slowly. Previously, he was still wondering why he couldn't deduce the whereabouts of an ordinary person with 1/7 of his blood. However, now that the Qiao family in Shunning City was involved, Lin Yuan began to feel relieved. The Qiao family in the northern frontier was one of the oldest families in the Shunwu dynasty. They had been passed down since the Wanjian dynasty. Although they didn't have a Kongming realm existence, they had a total of 9 heaven realm existences. If it wasn't for the Qiao family's lack of interest in conflicts between major forces, Lin Yuan might not have been able to conquer Shunning City with the Qiao family's presence. The Qiao family's strength on the surface was enough to sweep across the northern frontier in the pass. Lin Yuan's gaze lingered on the beautiful woman's face for a moment. He asked in confusion, "Why? Aren't you surprised to hear that your husband is in the Qiao family? Could it be that this woman didn't know what kind of existence the Qiao family was?" Thinking about it carefully, it was quite possible. Although the Qiao family was powerful, they kept a very low profile. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yuan had a monopoly on the spiritual item business and the Qiao family took the initiative to cooperate with him, Lin Yuan, the actual ruler of the northern frontier, wouldn't have known that such a powerful family was hidden under his command. Plop. As soon as Lin Yuan finished speaking, the beautiful woman directly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lin Yuan. She repeatedly said, "May I be so bold as to ask Lord Dragon King to save my husband?" Lin Yuan, frankly speaking, when he reported the location of the beautiful woman's husband, the quest submission column was still grayed out. He had a vague premonition that something bad was about to happen, and now, it really came true. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment. He slightly narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Since you're begging me to save your husband, then you should know why the Qiao family took your husband, right? Tell me clearly. Otherwise, I won't do anything. If I find out that you dared to lie to me, you and your husband won't be able to leave the northern frontier alive." Lin Yuan was now considered a business partner of the Qiao family. If the beautiful woman's husband didn't have a death feud with the Qiao family, the Qiao family would more or less give him some face if he went to ask for his husband. However, if the beautiful woman's husband had an irreconcilable feud with the Qiao family, his reputation as the ruler of the northern frontier might not be useful. If they really fought, although he wasn't afraid of the Qiao family, the one who would suffer in the end would still be the entire northern frontier. Hearing Lin Yuan's words, the beautiful woman also clearly heaved a sigh of relief. Although this newly appointed god of the northern frontier wasn't strong, this Blackwater Dragon King still had a breath of righteousness in his heart. If she begged the other forces of the northern frontier for the same thing, she would most likely be rejected. Some of the lackeys who flattered the Qiao family would even take the initiative to report this matter to the Qiao family. Even forces with Void Realm experts wouldn't easily provoke the Qiao family. This was the face of the Qiao family in the northern frontier. However, this Blackwater Dragon King expressed that he was willing to stand up for her. Lin Yuan didn't know what the beautiful woman was thinking at this moment. He was very clear that whether or not he could transform into a dragon depended on this incense template. Therefore, after the first mission was issued, Lin Yuan didn't want to fail no matter what. As for the Qiao family, in the eyes of other forces, they might be an existence not to be trifled with, but in Lin Yuan's eyes, they were just one of the many lice. Anyway, lice didn't itch when there were too many of them. Chapter 307. My husband was once a member of the Qiao clan. His cultivation aptitude could be said to be monstrous. The previous head of the Qiao clan said that he had the potential to break through to the Heaven Dipper realm before the age of 30. However, because he wasn't a direct descendant of the Qiao clan, he was secretly poisoned by the son of the current head of the Qiao clan, which destroyed my husband's cultivation path. After that, my husband went to a foreign land and built a business that is comparable to the richest in the region with the identity of an ordinary person. I didn't expect that the Qiao clan still wouldn't let my husband go. They took the opportunity when my husband came to the northern frontier to purchase spiritual items to kidnap my husband. Although I don't know why the Qiao clan did this, I feel that it might be related to a secret that my husband knew. If Lord Dragon King can help me rescue my husband and guarantee that we can safely leave the northern frontier, I am willing to hand over this secret. The beautiful woman bowed slightly with a hint of sorrow in her eyes. Lin Yuan's gaze swept back and forth across the beautiful woman's face. His eyes also revealed a hint of contemplation. After all, he wasn't a divine beast like the Xieji that was born to see through people's hearts and see through lies. Therefore, he could only guess what the beautiful woman said. For an aristocratic clan like the Qiao clan that had been passed down since ancient times, their foundation was already here. If they continued to forge ahead, it would very likely cause some people or forces to be dissatisfied and bring about an unexpected disaster. Therefore, to them, stability had to be placed in front of all options. A prodigy from a side branch might be a good thing for a small or medium-sized clan, but for a top-notch clan like the Qiao clan, it was very likely to cause unrest in the clan. Therefore, it wasn't impossible for the Qiao clan to kill this prodigy in advance. After killing this prodigy's cultivation path, he could still leave the northern frontier safely and go to other places to develop. It should be the Qiao clan's compensation after the incident. Then, what kind of secret did he know that the Qiao clan would suddenly make things difficult for him and directly detain him in the northern frontier? Did this secret exist or not? Or rather, what exactly was this secret? Seeing that Lin Yuan didn't speak, the beautiful woman deliberated for a moment before slowly saying, "Lord Dragon King, I am not an unreasonable person. As long as you are willing to go to the Chao clan and ask for him, I will tell this secret to Lord Dragon King whether you succeed or not. All right, then this king will give it a try. Lin Yuan nodded and then sent his divine thought into the statue again. This strand of his divine thought had not been baptized by the power of incense, so it was unbelievably weak. Previously, when his main body used the blood sacrifice wishing technique, his vitality was greatly damaged, and even this strand of divine thought almost collapsed. He might have to recuperate in the statue for a long time before he could come out. Hopefully, the beautiful woman's secret was valuable enough. Otherwise, even if he obtained the quest reward, Lin Yuan's heart would still be filled with resentment. After entering the statue, no one disturbed Lin Yuan, and his mind gradually became active. If the secret of the beautiful woman's husband was related to the northern frontier, then Lin Yuan was confident that he could take him down. As for the beautiful woman's thoughts, they didn't escape Lin Yuan's eyes. She would tell him this secret regardless of whether he got the person or not. The Chao clan had stood tall in the northern frontier for so many years. They had experienced 3 generations of rulers, Myriad Sword, Divine Marshal, and Lin Yuan. It was impossible for them not to have any means to inquire. Therefore, whether Lin Yuan could get the person or not, the Chao clan would know this secret. If it involved a wide range of people, the Chao clan wouldn't give up even if they had a falling out. After all, seeking stability and keeping a low profile wasn't the same as building a car behind closed doors. If the beautiful woman told this secret to Lin Yuan, then Lin Yuan and the Chao clan would definitely clash. Even if he, as the new ruler of the northern frontier, wasn't a match for the Chao clan, he would still be able to bring some damage to the Chao clan. It could be considered as helping the Chao clan vent their resentment. As for what would happen to Lin Yuan after this, naturally, she didn't consider it. Even if Lin Yuan defeated the Chao clan, his future actions in the northern frontier would be difficult. After all, the Chao clan was the representative of the northern frontier's aristocratic families. If Lin Yuan made a move against the Chao clan, the remaining small and medium-sized aristocratic families would naturally feel insecure. When the time came, it wasn't impossible for the aristocratic families in the northern frontier to unite and resist Lin Yuan. Even if in Lin Yuan's plan, the aristocratic families were originally a force to be defeated, but now that the development of the northern frontier had just begun, they were completely unprepared. They would definitely suffer some losses. The stinger of a wasp's tail, the mouth of a green bamboo snake, both were not poisonous, but a woman's heart was the most poisonous. The lessons that countless people in his previous life summed up with blood and tears, sometimes would come true. 15 minutes later, Lin Yuan, who had recovered some of his strength, finally didn't look weak from his face. He wriggled his snake body and walked towards the Chao clan's residence. The Chao clan's residence was located in the east of Shunning City. The scale of the residence wasn't large, covering an area of 60,000 miles. If it was in Lin Yuan's previous life, it could be considered a first-class mansion. But in this world where the residences of officials and princes could easily cover an area of 1 to 200,000 miles, the Chao clan's residence was not only not large, it could even be said to be a little shabby. It was completely unworthy of the terrifying background of the Chao clan. Under Lin Yuan's rule of the northern frontier, the style was completely different from before. Regardless of whether it was humans or demonic beasts, they could freely enter and leave the various human settlements and trade. As for the demonic beasts' hunting and gathering of demonic beasts, they all stopped at the demonic beast forest in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range. Without Lin Yuan's permission, there was simply no human who dared to take half a step into the Hengduan mountain range. Otherwise, even if they were eaten alive by the demonic beasts, no one would stand up for them. Similarly, although the demonic beasts could freely enter and leave the human settlements, no one could do whatever they wanted. Once the demonic beasts intentionally harmed humans in the human settlements, there was simply no need for the northern frontier's human forces to make a move. Lin Yuan would personally capture the demonic beasts, and after a thorough investigation, he would give both parties a satisfactory explanation. As an existence that had been nurtured on Earth, Lin Yuan was very clear that regardless of whether it was humans or demonic beasts on the Tianwu continent, their ideals were actually wrong. between two intelligent races, whether it was the strength of the difference in status, but both sides should maintain a relationship of coexistence and prosperity, and should not be dominated by one side. Once the oppression was prolonged, even a lamb would bare its teeth. As for Lin Yuan's concept of coexistence and prosperity, although many people did not understand, when used in the northern frontier, the effect was exceptionally outstanding, and could even be said to be perfect. In other places, humans and demonic beasts would not be able to live in harmony, but in the northern frontier, all of them had to obediently abide by the rules. After all, in each settlement, the law enforcers were formed by both humans and demonic beasts. Furthermore, it was a rotation system. It was simply impossible to cover up the sky, cover up, and be biased. Chapter 308. The Qiao family was the Qiao family, after all. They were a family that had been around for nearly 1,000 years. Their power and resources were far beyond what ordinary people could imagine. As soon as Lin Yuan stepped into the east side of the city, he suddenly felt darkness in front of him. A black wave of people appeared before him. Even the weakest among them was at level 7 of the mortal evolution state. There were a few empty spaces in the depths of the crowd. Although Lin Yuan didn't look closely, he could sense that there were airborne realm beings coming from those empty spaces. And this was just a corner of the east side of the city. Ha! A show of strength. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's multicolored eyes. After all, his current appearance was unique in the entire northern frontier. He had black dragon scales with gold inlaid on top of one blue eye and the other ice-colored eye. There was no other beast that looked like this. Therefore, as soon as Lin Yuan appeared in Shunning City, the Qiao family probably got the news and quickly organized people, planning to show Lin Yuan who was stronger. It made sense. Someone at Lin Yuan's level wouldn't be so free as to wander around. He must have a purpose for appearing in Shunning City. In addition, he was heading straight for the Qiao family's territory in the east side of the city. The people in charge of the Qiao family were no fools. Of course, they would react. But Lin Yuan slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, a golden light suddenly flashed in his heterochromatic vertical pupils. An invisible pressure spread from Lin Yuan. The countless human cultivators standing in front of him didn't even have time to be fierce to Lin Yuan before Lin Yuan glared at them. Boom! It was as if a bomb exploded in their minds. These human cultivators instantly felt their minds go blank. Then, when they finally woke up and looked at Lin Yuan, some fear was born in their hearts for some reason. It was as if the one standing there wasn't a black snake that ruled the northern frontier, but a real dragon descendant hiding in the deep sea. Make way. When Lin Yuan saw that the crowd was in a mess, he struck while the iron was hot. The song of the tyrant of the world was launched in an instant. Suddenly, it was like a heavy hammer that smashed heavily into the crowd. Even some humans with slightly weaker willpower were so scared that they lost control of their bowels just by looking at Lin Yuan twice. Some of them even ran away recklessly. This was a talent skill that the system rewarded Lin Yuan when the bloodline transformation progress bar reached 90%. Dragon's Aura. As a dragon, you are born with an incomparable majesty. When you activate Dragon's Aura, your target has a 5% chance of falling into a state of extreme panic, 15% chance of falling into a state of panic, and 60% chance of falling into a state of panic. Note 1. Only one skill effect can be triggered. For example, an existence that enters a state of panic cannot enter a state of extreme panic. Note 2. This skill is ineffective against targets whose realm is higher than yours. It will not cause the target to fall into panic, but it will have a certain degree of deterrence. Note 3. This skill has no cooldown time, but it can only be used once in 3 days on the same target. Among the human cultivators present, there was no one with a higher cultivation base than Lin Yuan. Therefore, the Dragon Might skill was launched very smoothly by Lin Yuan. Even if there were a few humans who guessed the probability and did not fall into a state of panic, the chaos around them at the moment naturally affected their rhythm. Even a large number of them did not know why they were running away, but their bodies had already fled with the crowd first. The combination of the Tyrant of the World song and Dragon Might was terrifying. Lin Yuan even felt that if he used these two skills at the same time, He could directly turn a group of well-trained human troops into a defeated army. Of course, this was just Lin Yuan's imagination. After all, a well-trained army almost always had a willpower as strong as steel. Although they would still be affected by Lin Yuan's dragon might, it was unlikely that they would run away directly. However, when this skill was used on these ordinary cultivators who could only be regarded as wandering soldiers at best, it was no different from throwing a huge rock into the deep sea, instantly stirring up stormy wave. Lin Yuan continued forward. Wherever he passed, the human cultivators all made way, even forgetting their initial purpose of blocking this place. Even the few airborne realm beings hiding in the crowd retreated one after another. They were even more afraid of Lin Yuan than those mortal evolution realm cultivators. After all, with their level, it was easier for them to feel the absolute difference in power between the two sides. In front of Lin Yuan, they were not much different from those mortal evolution realm beings. In any case, Lin Yuan could easily crush them with a casual blow. There was no resistance at all. After passing through the outermost sea of people, Lin Yuan continued to move in the direction of the Qiao family's residence. Soon, 3 tall figures blocked in front of Lin Yuan again. The leader was a middle-aged man with a mustache. He had very high cheekbones, clear eyes, and an elegant and easygoing temperament. However, those who knew this middle-aged man's existence only had a deep fear of him. After all, this man almost wiped out the other aristocratic families in Shunning City, causing the Qiao family to be the dominant family today. The few aristocratic families who could join forces to fight with the Qiao family either fled far away or were beaten to the bottom, becoming one of the small, insignificant families in the eyes of others. Qiao Yilin, the current head of the Qiao family. I didn't know that Lord Dragon King had arrived. Please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. Qiao Yilin saluted Lin Yuan from afar, but his calm voice sounded as if it was right next to Lin Yuan's ear. He was ranked 3rd among the direct descendants of the Qiao family and was also one of the Heaven Dipper realm beings in the Qiao family. He could be considered a powerful figure of the middle generation. Lin Yuan acted as if he didn't see the sea of people just now. He nodded naturally and said, "It's fine." As his voice fell, Qiao Yilin's face stiffened. He didn't know how to continue the conversation. The Qiao family's actions couldn't be considered a lack of welcome. It could even be said that the Qiao family wanted to show Lin Yuan their power with great fanfare. According to Black Snake's rumored warmonger personality, he would either choose to admit defeat and obediently give the Qiao family face or fly into a rage and directly attack the Qiao family. Both were within Qiao Yilin's expectations. However, Black Snake's actions directly stunned Qiao Yilin. It's fine, my foot." Qiao Yilin, who choked on his words, had a look of discomfort on his face. Although he didn't know how to continue Lin Yuan's words, he still played along and said with a fake smile, "Lord Dragon King, an honored guest has arrived. I still don't know what's so important that Lord Dragon King would personally come to my humble abode." Chapter 309. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes. Seeing that the other party had changed the topic so quickly, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He slowly said, "It's not a big deal, but I have a friend who was detained by your Qiao clan. He hasn't been home for nearly half a month. His wife came to me, crying and begging me to ask about the Qiao clan." The moment he finished speaking, the smile on Qiao Yilin's face froze. Although he had already guessed that Black Snake's visit wouldn't be anything good, he really didn't expect that Black Snake would come for that guy. Did that mean that Black Snake was also here for that secret realm? After all, as the #1 clan in the northern frontier, the Qiao clan naturally cared about their reputation. They couldn't casually detain someone for such a small matter. In the past, when no one was in charge, the Qiao clan didn't dare to be so arrogant. Now that Lin Yuan had taken charge of the northern frontier, the first thing he did was set new rules, and rules that were beneficial to everyone. Even if the Qiao clan had the guts, they wouldn't dare to risk angering the public. In addition, it had been half a month. Even if Qiao Yilin hadn't thought of that abandoned son of the Qiao clan, he should have understood by now. Of course, an existence of Lin Yuan's level wouldn't just wander around. Although one wouldn't visit a temple for no reason, he definitely wouldn't make a trip to Shunning City just to say hello to the Qiao clan. It was just that Qiao Yilin hadn't thought of this at all. Although that abandoned son of the Qiao clan had done quite a lot of business with the Qiao clan's support, in front of a true expert, it was still not worth mentioning. No matter how much wealth he had, without strength, he couldn't protect his mountain of gold and silver. Therefore, they didn't think that the abandoned son of the Qiao clan would actually make contact with a troublesome existence like Lin Yuan. At first, the Qiao clan wanted to take Lin Yuan down a notch because they had more or less heard some rumors. Lin Yuan intended to open academies all over the northern frontier. Not only would he teach children how to read and write, but he would also open up cultivation methods to these students to a certain extent. Once they joined the academy and became an instructor, there was a chance that they would be able to obtain a higher-level cultivation method from Black Snake. After all, on the surface, the Black Snake was just a smokescreen for the primordial demon emperor. With a powerful being behind him, any cultivation technique that came out of the Black Snake's hands would be labeled as powerful and mysterious. Qiao Yilin didn't even need to wait for that day to come. He only needed to think about it to know that once the Northern Region Lord's Mansion issued this decree, it would be a terrifying attraction to those idle cultivators and how much support it would receive from the common people. From a long-term perspective, once Lin Yuan issued this decree, the quality of talents in the entire northern frontier would rapidly increase by a large margin. It would only stop after reaching an extremely high level. It was even possible for the northern frontier to surpass the Seven Empires. Although this was a good thing for the northern frontier, it was a terrible thing for the noble families, clans, and sect. What right did they have to stand aloof from the world and enjoy the adoration and worship of countless ordinary people? This was because they possessed knowledge, power, cultivation methods, and power. Once Lin Yuan opened an academy in the northern frontier, then everyone in the northern frontier would stand on the same starting line as the disciples of the noble families and sects. At that time, if one didn't have exceptional talent, one might not be able to continue standing at the peak of the northern frontier. Moreover, the population of the northern frontier was there. Even if there were only 10 geniuses in a generation, then at least 6 of them were hidden among the common people. Once these hidden geniuses began to display their talents, they would definitely be greatly nurtured by the noble families of the northern frontier. After all, with the Hengduan mountain range behind them, even if the noble families of the northern frontier were still very weak, they could invest countless times more resources in nurturing talent. So what if they weren't cultivation geniuses? Who would be willing to lower themselves to become someone's servant after studying and learning the principles and knowledge of how to be a person? Without these servants, who would cultivate the large amount of land controlled by the noble families and sects of the northern frontier? Could it be that these high and mighty cultivators had to personally work in the fields? When the time came, these abandoned lands could only be purchased by the noble families of the northern frontier at a low price and returned to public land, distributed to the common people in the northern frontier who relied on farming for a living. Although they were all farmers, farming for the noble families and sects and farming for the noble families of the northern frontier were two different things. After all, one needed to pay taxes twice, while the other only needed to pay taxes once. Even an idiot would know which one to choose. This government decree that might be issued, but it might also be a groundless rumor. Without a doubt, it was a desperate plan, a plan that could directly cut off the foundations of many powers in the northern frontier. If this continued, the only voice left in the northern frontier would be the noble families of the northern frontier. Meanwhile, the noble families of the northern frontier that relied on the resources provided by Lin Yuan to support large amounts of talents would soon be completely overthrown, becoming a chess piece that could be casually played with in the hands of Lin Yuan. When he first received this news, Qiao Yilin instantly broke out in cold sweat from fright. However, it wasn't that there weren't any capable people within the noble families of the northern frontier. They knew that after this government decree was issued, the northern frontier would completely become Lin Yuan's sole authority. Therefore, their internal opinions had always been divided, and this was the key reason why the government decree was stuck. In addition, Lin Yuan had been constantly pressuring them recently, so the Qiao family and the other noble families were also very uneasy. They had always wanted to find an opportunity to flex their muscles for Lin Yuan, to show that the noble families and sects of the northern frontier weren't so weak that they could be bullied. It was just that they hadn't found the right opportunity. After all, if they rashly showed their muscles, it would be easier for Lin Yuan to clean them up. What, is it inconvenient? A fake smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face, and a trace of ridicule flashed in his eyes. Although he couldn't tell if the beautiful woman's words were true or false, Qiao Yilin's reaction had already told him that the beautiful woman's words were indeed true. At the very least, that secret really existed. Moreover, even the Qiao family attached great importance to it. The value of this secret was probably even higher than Lin Yuan had imagined. Lin Yuan had never thought that the government decree that he had yet to issue had already been leaked. Therefore, he didn't even think that the sea of people he saw today was actually the result of the Qiao family's preparations. He still thought that the Qiao family's strength had already reached such a terrifying degree. This didn't make Lin Yuan afraid. Instead, it made him even more determined to eradicate the noble families and sects. Qiao Yilin shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "My Qiao family has always been upright. What inconvenience is there? It's just that Lord Dragon King might not know, but this person is an abandoned son of my Qiao family. In the past, he betrayed the Qiao family and colluded with outsiders to deal with our Qiao family. After that, he went to a foreign land and came to the northern frontier to purchase spirit items. He was caught red-handed by us. Speaking of which, we still have to thank Lord Dragon King. If not for you, this person might not have returned to the northern frontier." Chapter 310. I know that. Lin Yuan choked on Qiao Yilin's words again, and the ridicule in his eyes intensified. Then, Qiao Yilin opened his mouth, and a trace of indignation flashed across his eyes. He could see that this black snake didn't even put his Qiao clan in his eyes. He clearly knew that the other party was an abandoned disciple that the Qiao clan had expelled back then, and he still dared to boldly come over and ask for the person. What did this black snake think of his Qiao clan as? An ant on the side of the road that he could casually step on? I've already said that this person is a friend of mine. I only came to the Qiao family to ask if you can give this Lin some face and let bygones be bygones. First, release this person to reunite with his family. This way, this Lin will be able to answer to my friend's wife and children. However, Qiao clan head can rest assured. This Lin will not let the Qiao clan lose face for nothing. I can make the decision. The next time the Qiao clan orders phase, I can give the Qiao clan a 20% discount. No matter how much you order, I will definitely not let you suffer a loss in terms of price. Lin Yuan looked at Qiao Yilin with a sincere gaze, and his tone had a hint of negotiation. If it was an ordinary matter, Qiao Yilin really had to give this face. After all, Lin Yuan controlled all the face supply in the northern frontier. Once they fell out with Lin Yuan and couldn't directly defeat Lin Yuan and the northern frontier prince's residence, the Qiao clan would no longer have a foothold in the northern frontier. They might not even be able to maintain their current business. Order phase. Sorry, out of stock. The northern frontier's Fey distribution was in Lin Yuan's hands, and he would give as much as he wanted. As long as Lin Yuan said a few harsh words to the Qiao clan wouldn't be able to get any phase in the future. This matter wouldn't arouse the sympathy of the other clans and sects. Instead, they would be eager for the Qiao clan to be kicked out. After all, this was a business with huge profits. If others were to earn a bit more, it would mean that their own profits would be reduced. As for other aspects, the northern frontier prince's residence could clearly make arrangements for the Qiao clan. They could attack the Qiao clan from all angles using the law and underground rules. Even if the Qiao clan had a huge business, how long could they last against Lin Yuan's attacks within the rules? As long as Lin Yuan didn't directly use force to suppress the Qiao clan, it would be very difficult to arouse the rebellious thoughts of the other sects and clans. Sometimes, once benefits were involved, even the most astute person would be blinded. If Lin Yuan wanted to suppress the Qiao clan, he didn't need to bring a large number of armed forces. Low-level Fey beasts were too difficult to control. If he launched a beast tide to attack the Qiao clan, the people of Shunning City would inevitably suffer heavy casualties. This was undoubtedly something that Lin Yuan didn't want to see. However, excluding the power of the Hengduan mountain range, just the power of the northern frontier prince's residence and the other 6 city lords might not be enough to suppress the terrifying Qiao clan. However, this didn't mean that Lin Yuan couldn't do anything to the Qiao clan. After all, although the northern frontier was under his control, there was still the existence of the Shunwu dynasty. Therefore, Lin Yuan could play with the Qiao clan within the rules. As long as the Qiao clan dared to rebel, not only would they not have a place to stay in the northern frontier, but even the Shunwu dynasty wouldn't let go of this deep-rooted family in the northern frontier that vaguely threatened the Shunwu dynasty's control over the northern frontier. There was no other way, but once there was an opportunity, with Lei Qiusheng's domineering personality, he would definitely not let go of any opportunity to eliminate dissident. Therefore, Lin Yuan came alone, not to show off, but purely because there was no need to. Lin Yuan's words directly kicked the ball to Qiao Yilin, and Qiao Yilin's face was also full of helplessness. Now, the other party didn't want to talk about the abandoned son of the Qiao clan or anything like that. He even vaguely avoided the other party's secrets and directly asked if they would give him face or not. The corner of Qiao Yilin's mouth twitched slightly, and he said in a deep voice, "Lord Dragon King, it's not that my Qiao clan doesn't want to give you face, but this bastard's past actions are really infuriating. This time, we finally caught him, so a few of our family's juniors were a little agitated and accidentally hit him a little hard. Now, he's probably dead." Hearing how shameless Qiao Yilin was, Lin Yuan's mouth twitched violently. He couldn't help but think of the beautiful woman who asked him to take action. That woman probably already knew what kind of end her man would end up in before she set off, right? However, since Qiao Yilin had already said that, Lin Yuan really couldn't continue to make things difficult for him. After all, the other party really was an abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Even if Lin Yuan investigated this point, he wouldn't be able to find any problems. Although the internal strife of the Qiao clan wasn't so cruel that they had to fight to the death, in order to prevent outsiders from gossiping, their hands and feet would definitely be very clean. Therefore, the name that this abandoned son of the Qiao clan had been pinned on him back then could really be that he had colluded with foreign enemies. If Lin Yuan continued to make things difficult for the Qiao clan now, it wouldn't be as if he was pressuring the Qiao clan, but as if he was determined to find trouble with the Qiao clan with a cold face. Lin Yuan definitely wouldn't do something that required effort and didn't benefit him. No matter what the other party was like before he came here, but now, they would definitely deal a fatal blow to the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Even if they guessed that the beautiful woman who asked Lin Yuan to come here also knew about this secret, the final outcome wouldn't be much different. However, they still wouldn't hand the person over to Lin Yuan. After all, this was still considered a game. How could the Qiao clan be willing to lower their heads? "Lord Dragon King, Patriarch Qiao, what are you guys chatting about?" Just as both parties were in a deadlock, Lei Fan suddenly led Li Zhongxing and Luo Shu out from behind Lin Yuan. There was a hint of meaning in his eyes as he sized up Qiao Yilin and the 2 Heavenly Dipper realm experts from the Qiao clan. Although there was a hint of laughter in his voice, there wasn't a hint of a smile on Lei Fan's face. On the contrary, Lei Fan's cold eyes were filled with malice. "Why are you here?" Without waiting for Qiao Yilin to open his mouth to exchange pleasantries, Lin Yuan asked in surprise. Lei Fan snorted coldly and said in a strange tone, "I'm here to seek an explanation from Patriarch Qiao. I didn't expect the Northern Frontier's Qiao clan to be so powerful, to openly plant their men in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion and even flip through the documents on my desk." As his voice fell, Luo Shu suddenly threw the bundle he was carrying on his shoulders onto the ground. A few muffled groans could be heard from within the bundle and then it started to wriggle. Luo Shu didn't stay idle either. He took 2 steps forward and stepped on the bundle. With a flip of his hand, he pulled out a dagger from his waist and sliced open the bundle, revealing the badly mutilated human-shaped creature inside. Even for Lin Yuan, after searching his mind for a long time, he could barely find the word human-shaped creature to describe it. Although he could still distinguish the head, body, limbs, and the like, every single one of them was badly mutilated. Chapter 311. But other than the general outline of the body still resembling a human, Lin Yuan was completely unable to link this lump of mangled flesh with a living person. In other words, he could not even begin to imagine how tenacious this person's life force was, or how skillful Luo Shu's methods were, to be able to turn the body into such a state and still have a single breath of life left in here. Looking at this lump of mangled flesh, Zhao Yilin's eyelids twitched slightly. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean 3 fires. No one knew if Lei Yifan, the newly appointed king of the northern frontier, would do such a thing. But Zhao Yilin was certain that the other party now had the Black Snake backing him up. His subordinates were able to mobilize the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, which controlled all the demonic beast raw materials in the northern frontier, as well as the Association of the Demon Emperor, which controlled the underworld. The 600,000-strong Northern Frontier Guard Legion was also firmly under his control. Even the officials in the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace were all selected from the commoners. Under such absolute control, the Duke's Palace in the Northern Frontier had the ability to go toe-to-toe with any other power. Hence, if the other party wanted to make a move, he would definitely make the biggest move. For example, the Qiao family. Hence, the Qiao family had thought of all sorts of ways and means to send a few spies into the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace. Just like the previous government order to sever the foundations of the various aristocratic families and sects in the Northern Frontier, it had been leaked out by these spies. Although it was only a matter of time before the spies would be exposed before the eyes of the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace, Zhao Yilin had never thought that this day would come so quickly. What was even more unexpected was that Lei Yifan had merely caught hold of a small flaw in the Qiao family, and he had actually dared to bring the remains of the spies to their doorstep to demand an explanation from the Qiao family. Hearing Lei Yifan's words, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly turned cold. The lines in his mind connected at this moment, and he suddenly figured it out. The reason why the Qiao clan had prepared a sea of men to welcome him was definitely not because they could predict the future and knew that he was coming for the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. The Qiao clan's actions were because they saw that his decree could cut off the foundations of the aristocratic families and sects, so they wanted to use this opportunity to flex their muscles in front of the Wang estate and Lin Yuan at the northern frontier. They wanted to show that the Qiao clan was not an existence that could be bullied. However, Zhao Yilin did not expect that their sea of men tactic would not only fail to intimidate Lin Yuan, but also embarrass him. TSK, no wonder Patriarch Qiao made such a big fuss. It turns out that you misunderstood this king's intentions. Lin Yuan's cold gaze fell on Zhao Yilin's face, and Zhao Yilin suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Then, Lin Yuan did not give Zhao Yilin a chance to explain. He silently took 2 steps forward, and the aura on his body was not restrained in the slightest. Like a tidal wave, it smashed toward Zhao Yilin. Heaven Dipper Realm Expert. Sorry, but Lin Yuan was not weak at all. In the blood boil state, Lin Yuan was definitely not a match for demonic beasts in terms of attribute points. However, when facing humans whose physique was far inferior to demonic beasts, Lin Yuan still had the ability to fight. Even if Heaven Dipper Realm experts did not lose to demonic beasts in all aspects, humans' balanced and perfect body structure determined that humans' ability to fight overload was far inferior to demonic beasts. If the two sides engaged in a high-intensity battle, Lin Yuan might be able to endure the duration of the blood boil state, but Zhao Yilin might be crushed to death by his own overload pressure. After all, not losing was not losing, but there was definitely a difference. For example, the Fire Kirin's fight against Yang Xingqi and Master Kuwen was the best example. In terms of individual combat ability, regardless of the realm, demonic beasts were still stronger. However, humans were better at teamwork. Moreover, in a battle of life and death, no one could count on the other to follow the rules, right? Zhao Yilin's face stiffened, and he said in a deep voice, "Lord Dragon King, what is the meaning of this?" "There is no other meaning. I just feel that the Qiao clan should change its leader." Lin Yuan had the confidence to win against Zhao Yilin, so his words were naturally firm. If he went against the Qiao clan for that secret, Lin Yuan might be able to win, but it would definitely be very damaging. It might even give the Qiao clan a chance to ally with other clans and sects to go against the Northern Frontier Prince's residence. However, now that he was going against the Qiao clan, Lin Yuan had the right to do so. After all, no ruler would allow the clans and sects to place chess pieces around them, let alone something like peeking at secrets. Therefore, if this matter was blown up, the Chao clan would definitely not have an easy time. Even the other clans and sects would stay away from the Chao clan to avoid arousing suspicion. Chao Yilin's chest heaved up and down violently, but his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, "Since Lord Dragon King is so overbearing, then let's see who's the real deal." Before Lei Fan had rushed here, Chao Yilin had thought of countless ways to deal with Lin Yuan if he were to fall out with him. Among them, the safest way was to use the combined strength of 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts to fight against Lin Yuan. No matter how ferocious this beast king who had never tasted defeat since he was born was, it was obviously impossible for him to win against 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts working together. But now, 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts working together to fight against Lin Yuan? What was the difference between that and an open rebellion? Chao Yilin very quickly realized that this was Lin Yuan's intention to weaken the Chao family's strength. Since the Chao family was in the wrong, they could only choose to take on Lin Yuan's vengeance head-on. If they won today's battle, it would still be fine. Although he did not dare to openly kill Lin Yuan, but after dealing a heavy blow to Lin Yuan, he would be able to quickly reap the benefits of that secret. But if he was unable to defeat Lin Yuan, then the Chao family could really change their leader. Because he did not dare to kill Lin Yuan, but if Lin Yuan were to kill him, he would not have any psychological burden at all. The moment Chao Yilin's voice fell, he suddenly felt that the water spirit qi in the air had started to flow quickly, and was rapidly converging towards his location. F***CK. Chao Yilin did not care about his demeanor as a Heaven Dipper realm expert as he opened his mouth and cursed out loud. He had intended to exchange a few harsh words with Lin Yuan, secretly cut off some benefits, and let this matter pass. However, he did not expect that Lin Yuan would not have the slightest intention to talk nonsense with him. Almost at the same time when his face turned cold, Lin Yuan had already begun to make his move. If he was not a Heaven Dipper realm expert and was extremely sensitive to the Heaven Earth Spirit Qi, he might have already fallen into Lin Yuan's hands. However, although he was cursing out loud, Chao Yilin's dodging actions were still extremely fast. Almost at the same time that he noticed the abnormality, he had already made a perfect dodge and successfully avoided the area where the water spirit qi gathered the most. However, Chao Yilin was not the existence of Lin Yuan's previous life, so he was not good at psychological games. When Lin Yuan made his move, he had already guessed that Chao Yilin would dodge, so his original intention was not to use the water monarch and formless ice to forcefully control Chao Yilin like how he dealt with the previous demonic beasts. Instead, he deliberately forced Chao Yilin to dodge. At this moment, seeing that Chao Yilin had already entered the area that he had predicted, Lin Yuan brazenly activated formless ice. Chapter 312. Ice Realm, Golden Spear Armored Horse. Lin Yuan's cold voice sounded. Chao Yilin was slightly startled, and he felt a little uneasy. In the next moment, the water spiritual power gathered around Chao Yilin instantly turned into pure ice spiritual power, and quickly materialized into knights made entirely of ice. These knights directly surrounded Chao Yilin in the middle and began to attack again and again. Dual-type monster. Chao Yilin's face stiffened. He spread out his hands, and a layer of blue water shield instantly wrapped around his body. Although the Ice Knight hit the seemingly weak water shield again and again, it only caused ripples to appear on it. Lin Yuan's attack did not succeed, and there was no trace of annoyance in his eyes, but Chao Yilin was different. A single-type monster was already very difficult to deal with, and a dual-type monster was even more terrifying. At this moment, Lin Yuan just made a move, and no one knew how many killing moves Lin Yuan had in his hand. When the ice spiritual energy was exhausted, and the last Ice Knight collapsed, Chao Yilin waved his hand and removed the water shield that wrapped around him. He slowly raised his right hand and pointed at Lin Yuan, and said in a deep voice, "It's my turn." The next moment, an incomparably thick water dragon spurted out from Chao Yilin's palm. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a silent dragon roar, and directly bit at Lin Yuan, who was standing in the same place without moving at all. Courting death. Seeing that Lin Yuan did not dodge, a cold light flashed in Qiao Yilin's eyes. Although his water dragon was only a mimicry, how could the means of a heaven realm expert be so simple? Qiao Yilin was sure that if Lin Yuan took his water dragon head-on, the best outcome would be a serious injury, and he might even lose the ability to fight directly. However, Qiao Yilin subconsciously frowned, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Lin Yuan's name as Mad Python was widely spread, naturally not because he was arrogant and ignorant, but because Lin Yuan seemed to have nothing in his eyes that was worthy of his fear. However, in terms of fighting, Lin Yuan had reached an astonishing 100% win rate, which was not a result that an arrogant and ignorant person could achieve. After eliminating the possibility that the other party was underestimating him, Qiao Yilin's eyes narrowed. Could it be that Lin Yuan had the ability to easily take on his water dragon charge? The answer was revealed in an instant. Lin Yuan's azure blue vertical pupil lit up, and the special ability of the Monarch of Water was activated. It directly blocked the channel of communication between Qiao Yilin and the water spiritual energy. Thus, Qiao Yilin's control over the water dragon disappeared instantly. The water dragon that was still aggressive just a moment ago instantly collapsed in front of Lin Yuan's face, turning into a large pool of water that fell to the ground. How is this possible? Qiao Yilin stared blankly at the splashing water, astonishment written all over his face. He never thought that Lin Yuan actually had such a heaven-defying ability, to actually be able to cut off his channel of communication with the water spiritual energy in an instant. As a heavenly dipper realm powerhouse who majored in water techniques, after Lin Yuan displayed this unique skill, although it was not enough to directly cripple Qiao Yilin, it was at least 70% of his combat power. In fact, the Monarch of Water talent seemed to be heaven-defying, but in fact, it was not really that powerful. In the face of an existence that was lower than himself, Lin Yuan could casually deprive the other party of their water spiritual energy until he cancelled the talent or the other party left the range of his talent. However, in the face of a heavenly dipper realm existence like Qiao Yilin, Lin Yuan was far from being able to casually deprive the other party of their ability, but a little interference was not a big problem. Just like just now, when Qiao Yilin's attack was about to reach him, he directly activated his ability to make Qiao Yilin's attack ineffective. As long as Lin Yuan still had the energy to activate his talent, then in front of Lin Yuan, Qiao Yilin would still be a stinky little brother that was at his mercy. Of course, this was also because Lin Yuan and Qiao Yilin's realms were not that far apart. If it was a void realm cultivator who used their water ability, although Lin Yuan could still interfere with the other party, at most, it would cause some stagnation or awkwardness when the other party used their ability. Not to mention making the other party's attack ineffective, it was hard to say whether or not the other party could even dodge the attack. Wait. Lord Dragon King, if there's anything, I can. Before Qiao Yilin's voice fell, Lin Yuan had already started the next round of attacks. After all, Formless Ice and the Monarch of Water were both in cooldown. If he did not seize the opportunity to control the battle rhythm now, when Qiao Yilin realized that he could use the water spiritual energy again, the outcome of the battle would be uncertain. Void's Embrace. This skill evolved from Strangle. Although it was a physical attack, in a sense, it had already become an existence on the level of a causal skill. Almost at the same time that Lin Yuan used it, Lin Yuan's figure had already escaped into the elusive void. In an instant, Lin Yuan had already appeared behind Qiao Yilin, and his shrunken snake body directly wrapped around Qiao Yilin. This is bad. Almost all of the spectating Qiao family cultivators had expressions of horror on their faces. What was the most lethal attack for a python like Lin Yuan? Tail attacks, elements, venom, and the like were just icing on the cake. The real way to kill the enemy quickly and without giving the enemy a chance to resist was the strangle ability that snakes liked and were best at. Unless one's thwart cultivation technique had reached perfection, once entangled by a python, it was impossible to break free. This was why Void's Embrace was comparable to a causal skill in Lin Yuan's eyes. What kind of terrifying ability was it to appear behind the enemy and strangle them in an instant? If it wasn't for the short casting range of this skill, Lin Yuan dared to say that there was nothing in the world that could stop him from killing. After all, the distance between him and Qiao Yilin wasn't far. After a round of fighting, the distance between the two sides was estimated to be less than 20 meters. And this was already the limit of Void's Embrace's casting range. If Qiao Yilin just took a step back, he would be able to escape from Lin Yuan's attack range. Qiao Yilin took a deep breath, feeling the threat of death in his face. At this moment, Qiao Yilin's heart had even given up resisting. He directly closed his eyes and waited for death. But at the same time, Qiao Yilin suddenly felt that there seemed to be a layer of invisible shackles on his body. As time passed, this layer of shackles was constantly weakening. Just as Lin Yuan's snake body was about to wrap around him, Qiao Yilin instantly opened his eyes, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Die! Lin Yuan's low voice suddenly sounded. The snake body changed into an O shape, and directly strangled him. Chapter 313. Bang! Qiao Yilin, who was originally in the bag, suddenly turned into a ball of water and was crushed by Lin Yuan. At this moment, the pale-faced Qiao Yilin suddenly appeared about 50 meters behind Lin Yuan. His chest was heaving up and down violently, and he was panting heavily. The ability to switch bodies was considered a very high-level technique in any cultivation system. Not only could it avoid the enemy's attack, but it could also seize the opportunity to counterattack. However, there were many prerequisites for this technique. Most cultivators would need to prepare for a period of time before they could use it. Of course, it wasn't impossible to use it instantaneously like Qiao Yilin, but the consumption would be very terrifying. It was so terrifying that even a Heaven Star Border Realm expert who was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth would feel exhausted. Seeing that Qiao Yilin had successfully switched bodies, Lin Yuan's snake body stretched out again. A trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. "Ha, you have some skills. No wonder you are the head of the Qiao clan. However, this level is still far from surviving." "Stop. Lord Dragon King, please excuse us for a moment. We can discuss anything." Seeing that Lin Yuan was eager to try, Qiao Yilin quickly raised a hand with fear in his eyes. Qiao Yilin was very clear that whether it was for that secret or for the implementation of the new decree, Lin Yuan would undoubtedly kill the Qiao clan. In the past, Qiao Yilin thought that as a direct descendant of the Qiao clan and the head of the Qiao clan, he could give up everything for the Qiao clan. However, at this moment, in the face of the threat of death, Qiao Yilin suddenly realized that he wasn't as loyal to the Qiao clan as he thought. He just liked the power that the Qiao clan brought him. Therefore, Qiao Yilin didn't have any psychological burden and directly planned to sell out the Qiao clan's interests in exchange for his own safety. Including the 2 Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators, all the Qiao clan cultivators were dumbfounded. There was even a trace of resentment in their puzzled eyes. After all, Lin Yuan killing Qiao Yilin was only a personal matter. However, if Qiao Yilin reached an agreement with Lin Yuan, the Qiao clan's interests might not be the only thing that would be betrayed. In the future, the Qiao clan might even be criticized by other clans and sects in other places. But his mentality was similar to Qiao Yilin's. The loyalty of these Qiao family cultivators to the Qiao family was far less than they had imagined. In the face of Lin Yuan's ability to defeat Qiao Yilin in an instant, they still chose to remain silent from the bottom of their hearts. Only when those pairs of blank eyes fell on Lin Yuan would there be slight ripples. Wasn't this demonic beast a little too strong? What do you think? Lin Yuan didn't make a move immediately, but he maintained his attacking posture and asked without turning his head. Although Lin Yuan did not turn his head around, Lei Fan still quickly realized that Lin Yuan was talking to him. After deliberating for a moment, Lei Fan nodded his head slightly and said in a deep voice, "I also feel that this matter can be discussed. Although I am disgusted by the actions of the Qiao family, but any living being would seek a sense of security when they are not feeling uneasy. This is also something to be expected. But I think that although the Qiao family knows some secrets, but they are not so foolish as to announce it to the public." Regarding the decree that Lin Yuan wanted to implement, although there were disagreements within the northern frontier king's palaces, they were all existences that had once been enemies with Lin Yuan. Although Lin Yuan was relying on the strength of the northern frontier king's palaces and the Demon Emperor's Association, he could only be considered a second-rate force at best. Not to mention a super first-rate force like the Chow family, even a first-rate force like the Freedom Yard would be able to thrash him. But looking at the northern frontier, there weren't many existences that dared to offend Lin Yuan. After all, this man could mobilize the Hungduan Mountains beast tide to attack the northern frontier cities with just a single word. To the northern frontier that had no city walls now, 1 or 2 beast tides might not be a big deal. But as time went by, there would be many such close combat battles. The human side's reproductive ability would be far inferior to the demonic beasts. When that time came, it would only be a matter of time before the northern frontier was destroyed. The deterrence of martial strength was one of the reasons. More importantly, Lin Yuan still controlled the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although it belonged to the Northern Frontier King's palaces in name, everyone knew that the phase and demonic beasts that the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce sold came from Lin Yuan. Once Lin Yuan left the Northern Frontier, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce would only exist in name. They wouldn't have the guts to enter the Hungduan Mountains to obtain those things. The entire Northern Frontier's economy would be regressed by a few decades. Therefore, looking at the Northern Frontier, there weren't many people that dared to offend Lin Yuan. It could even be said that when Lin Yuan was willing to play with them within the rules, they were actually happy. Therefore, even if there were disagreements within the Northern Frontier King's palaces, no one dared to spread the news. After all, these forces' tolerance for Lin Yuan wasn't limitless. When they knew that Lin Yuan wanted to cut off their foundation and that they couldn't openly resist, they might even be crazy enough to directly assassinate Lin Yuan. The consequences of that weren't something that the northern frontier could bear. However, there would always be some lunatics who felt that since they were going to die, they might as well die together. Of course. Everyone, please take a seat at the Chow residence. Chow Yilin nodded and revealed a somewhat flattering smile. He even regretted his superfluous action. Although he had obtained the secret decree of the Northern Frontier King's palaces, the Northern Frontier King's palaces hadn't released it yet. Therefore, the bowstring hadn't been pulled taut and wouldn't break. The other forces wouldn't directly fall out with Lin Yuan, but the Chow family, who already knew the secret, naturally became Lin Yuan's first target. Lifting a rock and smashing it on his own feet. Chow Yilin felt that his previous actions couldn't be more apt to be described with this sentence. The group of Chow family cultivators dared not speak out despite their anger. Because according to the information that the Chow family had obtained, the guards of the northern frontier had already been prepared to move out when Lei Fan had arrived at the east of the city. Now that Lin Yuan's side had a righteous cause and Lei Fan had already made preparations before setting off, it wasn't something that the Chow family alone could contend against. Hence, under Chow Yilin's lead, Lin Yuan, Lei Fan, Luo Shu and Li Zhongsheng walked towards the Chow family's residence without the slightest scruple. They were not worried at all that the Chow family had set up an ambush there, as if the Chow family was not even worth mentioning. This kind of contemptuous action caused many of the Chow family cultivators' faces to burn, but they didn't dare to fall out with them and could only follow obediently at the back of the group, gathering towards the Chow residence. There were even many people who were eagerly anticipating that the two sides would come to blows because they couldn't come to an agreement. In any case, they didn't believe that after entering the residence that the Chow family had operated for so many years, these four fellows would still be able to carve out a bloody path out of it unscathed. Chapter 3:14. At the same time, outside the eastern boundary of the city, the beautiful woman, who was observing Lin Yuan's every move, frowned slightly. A hint of confusion flashed through her eyes, as if she couldn't understand what he was thinking. Her surname was Zhen, and she was born in the Zhen clan of the imperial capital. It was a merchant clan backed by the Grand Secretary. Although her strength wasn't at the peak, she was still considered a member of the upper class among the various powers in the imperial capital. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to so easily get in touch with the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Moreover, she had followed Lord Zhongxiu's orders and told the abandoned son of the Qiao clan a secret about the northern frontier, which had led to a series of conflicts. Yes, the beautiful woman had long since known what would happen to the abandoned son of the Qiao clan after learning of this secret. Even the Qiao clan knew of this secret because someone she had arranged in her husband's caravan had accidentally leaked the news. Otherwise, the Qiao clan wouldn't have been so free as to detain the leader of a subordinate clan that they had personally supported. As for the conflict between Lin Yuan and the Qiao clan, it was also within her expectations. Even if Lin Yuan didn't rely on the power of faith to cultivate, as the official god of the northern frontier, Lin Yuan wouldn't miss any opportunity to recruit believers, even if it was just for the sake of looking good. Thus, after putting on a show, she directly went to the Blackwater Dragon King Temple and contacted Lin Yuan, all for the sake of luring Lin Yuan into her trap. In addition, the reason the Qiao clan's spy could accidentally come into contact with the secret information of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was also because of the embroidered guard's manipulation. The embroidered guard was also involved in the discovery of the identity of the Qiao clan's spy in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. Their goal was to make the Qiao clan and the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion become enemies. From beginning to end, this was a scheme set up by the embroidered guard under Zhong Xiu's command. Moreover, it had started off exceptionally smoothly, with almost every step within the embroidered guard's control. Only at the most crucial step, when Lin Yuan faced Qiao Yilin, did the development of the situation suddenly deviate a little. Qiao Yilin was terrified. No one had expected that this person, who represented the Qiao clan's highest authority and the Qiao clan's interests, would be beaten into submission by Lin Yuan in a single exchange. As a result, the embroidered uniform guard's follow-up plans had completely collapsed. They had to come up with a new plan to deal with what would happen next. Thinking of this, the beautiful woman secretly spat. Her feet moved a few steps and quietly disappeared into the crowd. However, the beautiful woman did not notice that before she left the surveillance station, 3 pairs of emotionless eyes had been fixed on her for a long time. One of them was the criminal Xia Siyu who had been recruited by Lin Yuan, another was the dark shadow walker who was always by Lei Fan's side, and the last was the sword dancer who was always by Shunan's side. 3 top-class assassins who were proficient in assassination to have their eyes on the same person at the same time, it was clear that Lin Yuan was wary of this beautiful lady. On the other side, in the Qiao clan's residence, Qiao Yilin, who had dismissed the crowd of cultivators, led his 2 Heavenly Dipper realm brothers to the guest hall and sat down. There was no longer the fawning expression on his face, and it was as cold as a piece of ice that would never melt. Only when his gaze was fixed on Lin Yuan would there be a slight ripple in his eyes. Although every move he had made before was an act, the exchange between him and Lin Yuan was not fake. Both sides were intentionally flexing their muscles. Therefore, Qiao Yilin believed that once the 2 sides really started fighting, Lin Yuan really had the strength to kill him. This made him feel terrified in his heart, and his face grew colder and colder, not daring to show his true feelings. The 5 of them sat down, and Lin Yuan also coiled up his snake body. He smiled and said, "I'll have to trouble the Qiao clan's patriarch to put on a show with us." After all, the embroidered guard was an old power of the Shunwu dynasty, an existence comparable to the sword dancer and the shadow walker. Although the Demon Emperor society was powerful in the northern frontier, its foundation was still shallow. Naturally, it was impossible for it to completely remove the embroidered guard's spies. Therefore, the embroidered guard would make a comeback sooner or later. This had always been within Lin Yuan's expectations. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that the embroidered guard would make such a vicious move this time. It was as if they had directly caused the Northern Frontier Prince's residence to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Qiao clan. They had even made Lin Yuan an enemy of the various forces in the Northern Frontier. Unfortunately, the embroidered guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the Northern Frontier looked the same as before, a large net had been set up in the dark. From the officials of the city lord's residence to the peddlers and coachmen, almost everyone had Lin Yuan's informants. Some of the embroidered guard spies might have thought that their whereabouts were hidden, but their every move had been exposed to Lin Yuan's eyes long ago. Lin Yuan naturally had to be on guard against an existence like the beautiful woman who had taken the initiative to come to him with a secret. Therefore, after she left the Dragon King's temple, Lin Yuan immediately contacted Shadong, the person in charge of the Demon Emperor Society in Shunning City, and began to follow the beautiful woman's trail. As expected, he discovered that this woman had made contact with a few people who were suspected to be members of the Embroidered Guard. Not only did she confirm the identities of these Embroidered Guard members, she also made it clear that there was something wrong with her. Therefore, Lin Yuan very naturally completed the prelude according to her script. When the matter reached the critical point, he privately communicated with Qiao Yilin, which led to the scene outside. Of course, although Qiao Yilin was cooperating with Lin Yuan, after the battle, he was indeed afraid of Lin Yuan. Otherwise, he would not have publicly humiliated himself. Lord Dragon King, our next step is... A cold glint flashed in Qiao Yilin's eyes. In the past, when the Qiao family was glorious in the northern frontier, even Lei Qiusheng had to be courteous when he personally came to the northern frontier. A mere embroidered guard actually dared to use the Qiao family as a chess piece. Wait. Lin Yuan closed his eyes and said casually. Then, without waiting for the others to speak again, he added, "We have disrupted the embroidered guard's original plan, so they will panic. Moreover, they will quickly formulate a new plan to make up for their mistake. We may not be a match for the embroidered guard if we play such underhanded tricks. Therefore, we must make use of our powerful advantage in the northern frontier and wipe them out when they reveal a flaw. That is what we should do." Now, the embroidered guard only had two choices. The first was to make that secret public. This way, Lin Yuan and the Qiao family would have to speed up their pace and reap the benefits before the other factions could react. After all, the Qiao family couldn't back down when they were just one step away from the door, right? The other choice was to make Lin Yuan's unannounced decree public. At that time, not only would the Qiao family become Lin Yuan's enemy, but all the factions in the northern frontier wouldn't let this matter rest. If they didn't choose either of these two paths, then the embroidered guard could only choose to give up on the northern frontier and quickly retreat. Chapter 315. Both options posed a great threat to Lin Yuan. At the same time, they were the only two options the embroidered uniform guard could choose to take action while hiding in the dark. However, from the ruler's position, the embroidered uniform guard was more likely to choose the first option. After all, Lei Qiusheng wasn't some incompetent emperor. On the contrary, Lei Qiusheng, who had a strong desire to control power, would never give up on this decree that would greatly harm the various aristocratic families and sects. The northern frontier just so happened to be one of the test subjects. Therefore, the embroidered uniform guard that belonged to the Shunwu dynasty wouldn't choose to announce Lin Yuan's decree at this time unless they were mentally retarded. This would cause Lei Qiusheng to be dissatisfied, and at the same time, it would arouse the vigilance of the various factions. If they wanted to do something similar in the future, it would take twice the effort for half the result. Of course, anything was possible. After all, Zhong Xiu, who they had only heard of but hadn't seen, hadn't come to the northern frontier yet. Therefore, it was hard to say who the person in charge of this operation would be. It was also unknown how intelligent the other party was. What they were afraid of was that Zhong Xiu had been commanding from afar the entire time, while Lin Yuan had set up a counterattack. Although it wouldn't be enough to make the other party throw away their armor, it wouldn't be a problem to a certain degree. When the time came, Zhong Xiu would be separated from the embroidered uniform guard in the northern frontier. It was possible that the embroidered uniform guard in the northern frontier would make any kind of decision. Unfortunately, the embroidered uniform guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the northern frontier wasn't small, there weren't many people moving around. Only a few merchants would come to the northern frontier to purchase various phase and demon beast materials. Not everyone had the courage to live under the same roof as the demon beasts. Therefore, after Lin Yuan ruled the northern frontier, anyone who moved to the northern frontier was under the surveillance of the Demon Emperor Association. Therefore, the embroidered uniform guard's little tricks couldn't be hidden from Lin Yuan. In addition, when the embroidered uniform guard was choosing a target, they shouldn't have chosen the Qiao clan. The development of the situation had been going according to the embroidered uniform guard's plan. However, Lin Yuan had taken the opportunity to communicate with Qiao Yilin during the fight, so the matter wouldn't be out of the embroidered uniform guard's control. One reason why Qiao Yilin was that he wasn't a match for Lin. Another reason was that the Chow clan had the ability to investigate the embroidered uniform guard. Lord Dragon King, although our two clans are cooperating now, there are some things that I still have to ask clearly. Chow Yilin stroked his beard and said in a deep voice, although the embroidered uniform guard is involved in this matter, the decree should have come from you, right? I just want to ask clearly. Do you really want the Northern Frontier's aristocratic families and sects to be destroyed? What if you do? Lin Yuan grinned, revealing a meaningful smile. After pondering for a moment, he replied with a question. Chow Yilin took a deep breath and gently shook his head. He replied, I am not a match for the Dragon King. Even if the Chow clan can stop the Dragon King for a while, it won't be able to stop the Dragon King forever. If the Dragon King insists on doing this, I hope that on account of the Chow clan's willingness to cooperate with the Dragon King, you will give the Chow clan a way out. Even if that doesn't work, please allow the Chow clan to move out of the northern frontier. Phut, Lin Yuan suddenly sneered. His eyes suddenly became deep as he said indifferently, Patriarch Chow, if you were the ruler of the northern frontier, would you wish for other voices to exist in your territory? If you had the chance, would you choose to coexist with these powers that could shake your rule at any time, or would you choose to eradicate them? This, Chow Yilin narrowed his eyes slightly. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. If he were the ruler of the northern frontier and had the right opportunity, of course he would eradicate these powers. But the problem was that the northern frontier wasn't under the Chow clan's rule, but his Chow clan was one of these powers. The so-called aristocratic families and sects, in my opinion, are all the same. They are nothing more than a group of people who formed a group for some benefits. Whether these people originally did it for benefits or for righteousness, in essence, they are powers that have jumped out of the control of the Northern Frontier's ruler. Their combined power can even easily replace the ruler of the Northern Frontier. Therefore, they are existences that no ruler can tolerate. But then again, no matter when, aristocratic families and sects are bound to appear. For example, among the 7 castellans of the northern frontier, except for the Hu clan that has been guarding Shunning City for generations, the other 6 castellans were transferred from the Shunwu dynasty. In the local area, except for relying on the strength of the local garrison, they have almost no deterrence to speak of. Nominally, they are castellans, but in reality, they are restrained by aristocratic families and sects everywhere. Under my rule, their status hasn't changed much, but in 10 years, or 100 years, they will become the new aristocratic families of the northern frontier. Therefore, my intention has never been to annihilate powers like the aristocratic families and sects. I only hope to bring these powers under my control, and at the same time, set a new set of rules to unify these powers in a circle. If they are willing to abide by the rules, then they can naturally continue to exist. But if they want to challenge the rules, then they must suffer my endless fury. Lin Yuan's voice was very soft, but in Chow Yilin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. After all, ordinary people joined sects to cultivate, but the Northern Frontier Academy set up by Lin Yuan could perfectly achieve this. Once enrolled, they would be students. Although the treatment was different according to the aptitude, at least some of the chores would be done by the ordinary staff hired by the academy. It was not like ordinary sects, where disciples were nominally disciples, but in reality, they were handymen, and all the dirty and tiring work was thrown to the grassroots disciples who had no background to speak of. But it was absolutely impossible for aristocratic families to be abolished. Today's 7 castellans, and even some of the generals of the Northern Frontier Guard Corps, would become the new aristocratic families of the Northern Frontier in 10 years, or a few decades. If Lin Yuan wanted to abolish aristocratic families, it meant that he would become the enemy of everyone. After all, who didn't shed their blood to achieve meritorious deeds and protect their descendants? Understood. Chow Yilin stood up and said in a deep voice, Lord Dragon King, the Chow family is willing to donate all the land under our name to the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. In addition, I will also arrange for people to make copies of the cultivation manuals in the Chow family's storage. When the Northern Frontier Academy is officially established, it will be sent over. To be able to become the head of a superclass power like the Chow family, Chow Yilin's mind was undoubtedly very flexible. After understanding Lin Yuan's future plans, he quickly figured out how to protect the Chow family. Buying the 380th monthly ticket. Chapter 316. Chow Yilin was very clear that his words and actions today would cause the Chow family to suffer a huge blow, to the point that they would fall out of the ranks of the superpowers. From a great family outside the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion to a great family under the control of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. Just thinking about it would cause countless Chow family disciples to feel dissatisfied. But Chow Yilin did not regret his words and actions in the slightest. After all, the Chow family had been passed down for close to 1,000 years. Outsiders might think that the Chow family was stubborn and obstinate, abiding by the old traditions, but in reality, that was not the case. Every era had its own rules, and those who could not accept the new rules would undoubtedly be eliminated by the new era. Now that Lin Yuan had appeared, it was the prelude to the new era. Don't look at how Lin Yuan could only influence the northern frontier now. But given enough time, the entire Sky Marshal continent would be under his control. Chow Yilin's heart was as clear as a mirror. If he chose to suffer some losses now and accept the new order brought by Lin Yuan, then the Chow family would be able to continue on. After a few hundred years, the situation might change, and the Chow family would be able to easily take back what was rightfully theirs. And even if the situation did not change, the Chow family would still continue to exist, and they could patiently wait for the opportunity to come. And if Chow Yilin chose to be conservative, and felt that Lin Yuan's plan would be nipped in the bud, then he could already start preparing his will. Just like what Lin Yuan had said earlier, the Chow family would have a new leader, and if the new leader was not willing to cooperate with Lin Yuan, then the Chow family might not even exist anymore. You are a promising child. Lin Yuan nodded his head in satisfaction. Although he was not surprised by Chow Yilin's choice, but before communicating with Chow Yilin, Lin Yuan had indeed made plans to eradicate the Chow family. It was just that he needed time to prepare. Now that the Chow family had tactfully chosen to admit defeat, then it was better to save some effort. Even Lei Fan's eyes revealed a look of surprise. After all, in the entire northern frontier, the most difficult family to deal with was the Chow family. Now that even the Chow family had surrendered without a fight, if the remaining families wanted to resist, they would have to consider whether they could withstand the wrath of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. As for the sects, there was bound to be a battle between the two parties. Although Lin Yuan and Lei Fan did not object to the various sects coming to the Northern Frontier to set up dojos to impart their cultivation techniques, it was not a problem for them to open dojos and accept disciples. However, using the name of opening dojos and accepting disciples as an excuse to annex the land would be touching Lei Fan and Lin Yuan's reverse scale. While they were talking, Xia Xiu walked out of the void and said in a deep voice, "Demon Emperor, just as you expected, the woman surnamed Zhen immediately met with several people with high status in the embroidered guard after you and Master Chow began to negotiate peace. Before we could find out what they were plotting, a piece of news began to spread among the cultivators in Shunning City." Oh! Lin Yuan raised his eyelids slightly and pretended to be surprised. Although he did not know what the beautiful woman had not told him about the secret, but from the reaction of the Chow family, the profit this secret could bring was definitely not low. Otherwise, Chow Yilin would not have been schemed against by the embroidered guard. 14,000 miles to the east of Shunning City, there is a mirror-like lake in the demonic beast forest. It covers an area of about 500 meters, but once you go deep into the lake, you will find that there is another world inside. Dive down for about 3,000 meters, and you will enter an underwater world. There are countless demonic beasts of the Water Clan, but there are also countless spiritual objects of the Water Clan. Moreover, these spiritual objects are not young, and you can casually bring them back and make a fortune. Xia Xiu continued expressionlessly. In addition, as if to prove what I said, several valuable water spirit objects have already appeared in the black market of Shunning City. Because the other party rented our stall in the black market to trade, the black market has no right to detain them. Ever since Lin Yuan ruled the northern frontier, he had also made great efforts to reform the black market. In the past, the black market could be said to be a mix of crooks and honest people. The low-level cultivators were all mortal evolution states who wanted to broaden their horizons, and the high-level cultivators who wanted to try their luck and see if there were any good treasures. As a place that could attract void nether state cultivators, it went without saying what kind of treasures could be brought out. However, while the black market had a large number of transactions, the security was not outstanding. It was not uncommon for people to fight over a few treasures and even affect the order of the black market. There were even cases of buyers robbing the vendors because they could not afford the price. In short, it was a mess. If one did not have a certain level of strength, not many people would dare to trade in the black market. After all, the probability of being killed and robbed was too high. There were even some unscrupulous shops that would kill the buyer after selling the item. The next day, they would hang the treasure in the shop again and wait for the next unlucky person. After Lin Yuan took over Shunning City, he made drastic changes to the black market. Some unscrupulous shop owners were directly killed by Lin Yuan on the spot, and their corpses were hung on the city wall to warn others. He also set up security in the black market. Anyone who wanted to cause trouble in the black market would have to consider if they had the power. Even if they had the power, they would not be nameless people. Lin Yuan would personally take revenge on the other party after the matter was over. Although the black market was still called the black market, there was a new order and a safe trading environment. No matter who wanted to sell items in the black market, they would have to register their identity in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion and then get a number plate to set up their stall in the black market. If the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion approved it, then even if Lei Fan came personally, he would not be able to interfere with the other party's trade. That's interesting. A cold glint flashed across Lei Fan's eyes as he frowned and said, if that's the case, then the news released by the embroidered uniform guard might not be true. According to what I know, the embroidered uniform guard has quite a number of valuable spiritual items in their storage. If they want to set up a trap to deceive us, they would just have to spend a little money. But those who believe in this secret might have to pay with their lives. As his voice fell, Qiao Yilin's face immediately turned a little unnatural. He had not thought that this whole matter was a trap set up by the embroidered uniform guard from the beginning to the end. And as a water attribute cultivation technique cultivator, he had not hesitated to fall out with Lin Yuan for the sake of those precious water attribute spiritual items. But now, it seemed that even this secret might be fake. The embroidered uniform guard had completely played him for a fool. No, this secret should be real. A serious look flashed across Lin Yuan's eyes as he said in a deep voice, although creating something out of nothing is tempting, but if you want to set up a killing trap, you still have to see it with your own eyes. Chapter 317. As the saying went, seeing is believing didn't mean that just showing a few water-type spiritual items was enough. Once this secret was spread, it would undoubtedly attract many people to investigate. However, there were too many false rumors in the Tianwu continent. So, even those who didn't like to use their brains wouldn't rashly start a fight with cultivators who had the same goal as them before confirming the truth of the rumor. If they wanted to turn the entire situation into a killing trap, then even if the embroidered uniform guard had to set it up themselves, they had to create a true secret realm. If the embroidered uniform guard had been at their peak, it wouldn't have been much of a problem for them to create such a secret realm. However, the entire Northern Frontiers underworld was now under the control of the Demon Emperor Association. The embroidered uniform guard spies had been wiped out one batch after another before they barely managed to survive. So, unless this secret realm had been set up long ago, it should be true. Then what should we do? Qiao Yilin raised his eyebrows and asked subconsciously. He was still very concerned about this secret realm. Previously, he had even gone as far as to fall out with Lin Yuan. Now that the embroidered uniform guard had leaked this secret, there would definitely be many cultivators who would return to explore it. If Lin Yuan hadn't expressed his desire to take this secret realm, then he wouldn't have minded using the Qiao family's power. However, he still had to act according to Lin Yuan's mood. Of course we'll spread the news with them. A faint smile flashed through Lin Yuan's eyes. He sneered, didn't the embroidered uniform guard say that this is a secret realm with countless priceless spiritual items? I don't think that's the right way to put it. Lei Fan, find someone to spread the rumor as well. Just say that the lake is the burial ground of a fallen dragon, and not only are there valuable water attribute spirit objects there might even be the blood essence of a dragon. The 6 people in the reception room looked at each other. Did this guy think that this wasn't big enough? But in next to no time, Qiao Yilin understood Lin Yuan's intentions. After all of this had been a scheme planned by the embroidered guard since the beginning, so it was naturally impossible for them to just hand over the secret realm. So, the embroidered guard would definitely organize a large number of people to enter the secret realm to search for treasures. On the other hand, Lin Yuan's actions were for the sake of attracting even more independent cultivators to the secret realm, and he was waiting for both sides to fight over the treasures beneath the lake. As for whether or not they would accidentally injure Lin Yuan's people, this was naturally not within Lin Yuan's consideration. The men from the northern frontier prince's mansion had sealed off the entire region. After all, the northern frontier prince's mansion was in a cooperative relationship with the demonic beasts of the Hengduan Mountains. The other cultivation forces would have to sneak their way into the lake. However, Lei Yifan had no such qualms. As long as his men did not step foot into the Hengduan Mountains, the demonic beasts would not bother him. When the time came, those cultivators who had entered the lake would have to risk their lives to come out of the secret realm. Whether or not they could bring away the treasures, and how many treasures they could bring away, would all depend on Lei Yifan's mood. As for the matter of screening the members of the embroidered guard, it was even simpler. Although the independent cultivators were a little more relaxed, they would still join forces against the various aristocratic families and sects to deal with existences that they normally did not dare to provoke. So, once the members of the embroidered guard entered the secret realm, they would naturally choose to group up or mingle with the independent cultivators. However, they would definitely come into contact with each other. According to the list of names that the Council of the Demon Emperor had, Lin Yuan believed that he would be able to ferret out the remaining forces of the embroidered guard in the northern frontier very quickly. Time trickled by. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. After Lin Yuan's group left the Qiao clan, they had been holed up in Shunning City, not taking even half a step outside. The Qiao clan did not have any unusual reaction either. This left the members of the embroidered guard helpless. After all, their opponents had left them with no openings at all. However, recently, the news that they had spread out in the various cultivators' gathering places had actually become even more explosive. For example, the secret realm was the burial ground of an ancient dragon clan, and there might be dragon clan blood essence and other treasures of heaven and earth inside. If that was all, it would be fine. However, there were actually people who said that the secret realm had a young ancient dragon clan left behind. If they were lucky enough to encounter it, they could tame it as a pet and raise it to be a great fighting force. This secret realm was discovered by the embroidered guard. Although time was short, the embroidered guard did not completely investigate it. It was hard to say whether this underwater secret realm had anything to do with the ancient dragon clan, but they were certain that there was absolutely no young ancient dragon clan in the secret realm. There wasn't even a dragon bloodline demon beast. At the same time, in the southern district of the city, in a tea house called Coiled Incense, the woman surnamed Zhen rested her chin on her right hand and gazed deeply at the street outside the window. She muttered, "Something's not right. The Black Snake clan might already know about our plan." Recently, there has been a lot of rumors. Perhaps the Black Snake clan deliberately released it through the Demon Emperor Association. Their goal is to attract powerful cultivators to compete with us for the secret realm. At this moment, she finally understood what it meant to shoot oneself in the foot. At the very beginning, they were the ones who released the news. Their goal was to give the Black Snake clan a sense of urgency and force them to explore the secret realm with the Qiao clan. As long as these two forces entered the secret realm at the same time, there was a possibility that they would fight over the various spiritual items in the secret realm. In the end, not only did the Black Snake clan not feel any urgency, they even spread the news with them. In fact, they were even more exaggerated than them. It was as if they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to attract powerful characters. And now, the Black Snake clan and the Qiao clan still had no intention of setting off. It was as if they had already given up on this secret realm. However, While the Black Snake clan and the Chow clan could do this, the Northern Frontier Embroidered Uniform Guard couldn't. This was because they were the ones who discovered this secret realm. Originally, they only planned to use it to set up a trap. Then, while both sides were still preparing, they would directly take away the wealth in the secret realm, making the Black Snake clan and Xiao Yilin's efforts go in vain. When the time came, the possibility of both sides attacking each other in anger would sharply increase. However, the wealth in the secret realm belonged to the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Even if they didn't have the opportunity now, they still had to bring the wealth out and wait for a certain Embroidered Uniform Guard to count it. Therefore, if they wanted to give up this secret realm, it was equivalent to them taking out wealth equivalent to the spiritual items they had reported to the Embroidered Uniform Guard to fill the gap. In other words, even if they wanted to run now, they couldn't afford to. Even if they knew that Lin Yuan had already dug a big hole for them in the secret realm, they could only pinch their noses and jump in. Let's set off. If we're late, others might really take advantage of us. The woman surnamed Zhen sighed faintly. She was the first to stand up and walk out of the tea house, walking towards the city gate. Chapter 318. At dusk. Outside the secret realm. Lin Yuan's gaze swept across the lake that had been blown to the heavens, and there was not the slightest ripple in his eyes. He had to go down and take a look at this secret realm. Although he was now stuck at a bottleneck and had to wait until he completely transformed into a flood dragon before he could continue to level up, even if he could not use the water-type phase in the secret realm, it would not be a problem for him to temporarily store them. Lin Yuan did not really believe in the vision of these cultivators. After all, when the people from the northern frontier entered the Hengduan mountain range to collect phase, they had vividly demonstrated this point. Some of the rare, valuable, and powerful phase were not recognized by them. Even if they were close at hand, they were too lazy to pick them, or they did not know how to pick them at all. Not only did they not obtain the phase, but they also damaged the phase. Among these cultivators that had gathered, there were almost no existences that could catch Lin Yuan's attention, except for the leaders of the various large families and sects. Therefore, Lin Yuan still decided to go down and take a look personally so that he would not miss out on any precious treasures. Although the mission was not completed and could even be said to have failed, Lin Yuan still figured out what the Joss Flame model's subfunction conversion was. Strictly speaking, it was an existence that belonged to the causal series like his blood sacrifice wishing art. However, Lin Yuan's blood sacrifice wishing art was too random, and the result was almost uncontrollable. For example, if Lin Yuan wished to directly fill up his Flood Dragon transformation progress bar, it might be enough to sacrifice a little blood, or it might not be enough even if he sacrificed the entire northern frontier. These were all unknown variables of this skill. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he had to do his best. Once the price was too high, he could only blame himself for being unlucky. What was even more frightening was that he had done his best, but the final result was still failure. However, conversion was different. It used the power of Joss Flames as a price to fulfill Lin Yuan's wish. Once Lin Yuan unlocked the conversion function, when he wished to fill up his Flood Dragon transformation progress bar, the conversion function would directly tell Lin Yuan how much Joss Flames he needed to achieve this. Based on the effects alone, the conversion was definitely superior, but Lin Yuan didn't think so. Firstly, the conversion function has great restrictions. Lin Yuan can only use it near his Blackwater Dragon King temple, otherwise it will attract natural disasters. Calling it a natural disaster was a bit inappropriate. It was probably a failure to cast a spell and he would be struck by lightning. In addition, the conversion price was fixed. This was a very inflexible point for Lin Yuan. For example, Lin Yuan might have to sacrifice a lot of blood to summon a rainstorm, but now, Lin Yuan only needed to sacrifice 1 or 2 drops of blood to summon a rainstorm. However, the conversion subfunction was different. For example, it was still summoning a rainstorm. Lin Yuan now had to pay a full 100 points of incense power to do so. In the future, even if Lin Yuan stepped into the desolate demon realm or even higher, he would also have to pay 100 points of incense power to summon this rainstorm. As time passed, The cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sects finally all arrived. There was also a large group of idle cultivators huddled in the camp to the side, busying themselves with their own matters. Between cultivators of different backgrounds, there was actually a chain of contempt. Just like how cultivators with imperial backgrounds looked down on the disciples of aristocratic families, and these disciples of aristocratic families looked down on those who came from sects. As for the scattered cultivators who gathered together, they didn't plan to enter the water at all. They knew very well that in the chain of contempt, they were undoubtedly the lowest existences. Now that the master of the northern frontier, the Dragon King, had appeared, if anyone dared to overestimate themselves and try to take the lead before Lin Yuan entered the water, what awaited them would definitely be a concentrated attack from various factions. However, in addition to the respectful and envious gazes, Lin Yuan also keenly sensed that there were many gazes filled with hatred in the crowd. They should be the secret agents of the embroidered guard. However, these people's expressions were very well controlled. When they saw Lin Yuan looking over, they began to whistle and look up at the sky, as if they weren't the ones who wanted to tear a piece of flesh off Lin Yuan's body with their gazes. Splash! Lin Yuan didn't waste too much time and directly dove into the lake. In any case, the water was his home ground. Even if the embroidered guard sent out a Heaven Dipper realm existence, it wouldn't be easy to deal with him underwater. This was why Lin Yuan dared to enter the water alone. As Lin Yuan made his move, the cultivators present also impatiently jumped into the water. However, they still maintained some restraint. The first to enter the water were the cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sects. It was as if the scattered cultivators weren't the slightest bit interested in the spirit items in the secret realm. It wasn't until the last cultivator with a background jumped into the water that the scattered cultivators began to move. A large group of embroidered guard members mixed in with the scattered cultivators looked at the calm surface of the water, speechless. They hadn't even entered the water yet. They reckoned that there were already some lucky existences below who had found a decent spirit item. As for the plan to assassinate Lin Yuan, it was directly pushed back by the members of the embroidered guard. After all, their first priority now was to collect the spiritual items in the secret realm and solve this matter before the higher-ups arrived. At this time, if they wasted time fighting with Black Snake, they would be the ones to suffer in the end. Let's go. The veiled woman surnamed Zhen waved her hand and directly jumped into the lake. This wasn't the first time she had come to this place. In fact, when the embroidered guard had first discovered this place, she could be considered a member of their team. However, exploring an unknown secret realm was undoubtedly very difficult. Therefore, the Zhen family exerted their strength and directly transferred her out. She still didn't know what was inside the secret realm. However, she couldn't be more familiar with everything outside the secret realm. While entering the water, the woman surnamed Zhen discovered that Lin Yuan, who was the first to enter the water, wasn't in a hurry to enter the secret realm to find spirit items. Instead, he was floating in the lake. Those strange vertical pupils of different colors just happened to fall on her body. Although Lin Yuan didn't say anything, the woman surnamed Zhen could still feel the ridicule in Lin Yuan's eyes. It seemed as if he had been waiting here for a long time. Hyla, don't waste any more time. Hurry up and load the cannon and adjust the angle. The woman surnamed Zhen narrowed her eyes and hurriedly urged him. Chapter 319. The various equipment of the embroidered uniform guard could be said to be top-notch. Even when exploring the secret underwater realm, the members of the embroidered uniform guard would still carry cannons that could be fired underwater. However, compared to the heavy cannons on the city walls, the cannons that could be carried with them were not that powerful. Still, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary cultivators and demonic beasts. Although the woman surnamed Zhen knew that the cannons they carried posed a laughably low threat to Lin Yuan, they had just entered the water. If they revealed their trump cards one by one, how would they fight for the treasures in the secret realm later? Upon hearing this, the subordinates of the woman surnamed Zhen began to load the cannons with special gunpowder. However, the woman surnamed Zhen's gaze was fixed on Lin Yuan from beginning to end, as if she was afraid that Lin Yuan would suddenly launch a surprise attack. However, the woman surnamed Zhen's actions could only be described as vigilance. It was far from fear. Lin Yuan memorized the appearances of these people one by one. Then, he grinned at the woman surnamed Zhen with a mischievous smile. Suddenly, he swung his serpent tail. He had no intention of fighting to the death here at all as he quickly dove into the deeper waters. The embroidered uniform guard would not place all their treasures in one place, especially when the woman surnamed Zhen had already been exposed. They would not allow all their members to follow behind her. Therefore, when Lin Yuan intercepted the woman surnamed Zhen, many members of the embroidered uniform guard had already taken advantage of the chaos to sneak into the secret realm. Lin Yuan wasting time here would only give those people the opportunity to collect all kinds of rare treasures in advance. Phew, when Lin Yuan's figure could no longer be seen, a member of the embroidered uniform guard let out a long sigh of relief. Being suddenly targeted by a terrifying giant python in the dark and quiet waters was not a feeling that anyone could accept. This was especially true when they knew that the giant python was not curious about them, nor did it have a desire to hunt them out of hunger. Instead, it simply had a murderous intent and malice towards them. The woman surnamed Zhen coldly snorted and said expressionlessly, "You're scared already? There are still many places where we will fight this black snake later. If anyone is scared, take advantage of this opportunity to leave the group and follow old Zhong and the others to collect treasures. Don't stay in the operation team and drag me down. I advise you to stop dreaming. This black snake will definitely not let us go so easily. If you are even the slightest bit careless, you might lose your life. Therefore, don't think that the operation team's merit points are high and want to gamble. If you can earn merit points, you have to be alive to spend them." The embroidered uniform guards operation team had to come up with a reasonable plan based on the approximate value and distribution of water-type spirit items from the previous exploration of the secret realm. They would try their best to collect as many spirit items as possible. But this task wasn't easy. If they could be easily dealt with the secret realms, they would not have waited. If they could their best SS to collect the spirit items in the secret realm. With SS, S, B, and teamses. After all, it was easy to enter a secret realm with a special environment like this, but difficult to leave. If one didn't have the ability, they didn't even have the qualifications to watch the show. Apart from those reckless fellows, almost all the cultivators they encountered were existences that could threaten the embroidered uniform guards' treasure hunting team. The operation team had fewer members and was led by the woman surnamed Zhen. They didn't need to be responsible for collecting spirit items, but they needed to support the treasure hunting team. Once they discovered that their own people were fighting with wandering cultivators or aquatic monsters, they had to consider whether to head elsewhere or quickly provide support. After all, the secret realm was quite large. Wasting time on unnecessary matters might not make up for the losses. Now that they had encountered the black snake, the operation team members felt that the responsibility on their shoulders had clearly increased. It was very clear that the black snake hadn't appeared here to greet them in a friendly manner. After entering the secret realm, not only would they have to think of a way to deal with the cultivators who were trying to steal the treasures, they would also have to be on guard against the black snake that might appear out of nowhere and attack them. At this time, Lin Yuan, who had just met the members of the embroidered uniform guard, was moving through the water with an expressionless face. This body of water was quite strange. On the surface, it only had an area of 500 square kilometers, but when one entered the water, one would discover that this was a convex terrain. After diving for 500 or 600 meters, Lin Yuan could no longer see the surrounding rock walls. He was still far from reaching the bottom of the lake. To be more precise, he hadn't even passed through the shallow waters. However, this was the most terrifying part. Lin Yuan's cultivation was at the peak of the 10th level of the wisdom realm. His physical body was incomparably strong after cultivating the golden body technique and possessing the flood dragon scale armor. However, in this 500 or 600 meter deep body of water, Lin Yuan still felt the water pressure pressing against his muscles. This was also because he was a water-type monster, which had a high resistance to water pressure underwater. I can only enter the secret realm after diving 3,000 meters? Whoa! Lin Yuan was a little shocked. The person who had set up this secret realm was so extravagant. The water pressure alone was enough to eliminate those who tried to enter the secret realm to take advantage of the situation. Without one or two tricks up their sleeves, ordinary cultivators at the first or second level of the airborne realm would have reached the limit of 500 or 600 meters deep in this body of water. There might indeed be many priceless treasures in the secret realm, but it was clear that the person who had set up the secret realm didn't intend to let ordinary people and mediocre people get their hands on their things. This time, because of the rumors, there might be 7,000 or 8,000 people who came to the secret realm to look for treasures. However, in the end, less than 1 in 10 would be able to enter the secret realm. The remaining type of people should be water-type cultivators, making up the majority. Lin Yuan felt that if he were to be robbed of good treasures in this kind of environment, and with the innate ability of the water monarch, he might as well just find a place and kill himself. There was no need to come out and embarrass himself. Lin Yuan began to dive once again with that thought in mind. His speed was close to 10 times faster than the cultivators around him. After all, although the water pressure was there, it was far from enough to threaten Lin Yuan. With his speed, he would have no problem diving 3,000 meters down. Unless this secret realm was impossible to enter at all, and the water pressure below was enough to squeeze a peak wisdom realm monster like him to death. However, if that was the case, there was no way to explain how the embroidered guard had explored this secret realm. Moreover, among the members of the embroidered guard, there were only a few heaven realm cultivators. The rest were basically at the 8th or 9th level of the airborne realm. In any force, they would only be regarded as a mainstay. Chapter 320. Finally, he reached the bottom of the lake after sneaking for 3,000 meters. Lin Yuan stretched his snake body, gradually expelling the discomfort caused by the increasing water pressure. His body returned to its peak state, and only then did he let out a long sigh. Along the way, Lin Yuan not only saw a lot of cultivators who were still trying to dive down, but he also saw some cultivators who began to float up with sad faces. For such people, their lack of strength would always be the biggest failure. If they lacked strength, they needed spiritual items to make up for it. If they did not have enough strength, they could only miss out on such a secret realm. As such, the spiritual items in the secret realm had nothing to do with them, which almost became an endless cycle. As such, the truly powerful cultivators were either extremely talented or had extremely wealthy forces behind them. Grassroots cultivators could only eat the leftovers of others. They had to become stepping stones for others to prove themselves. Lin Yuan built the academy on the northern frontier with the purpose of fostering such grassroots cultivators. That was because he did not want the forces he built in the future to still have countless voices, big and small. As such, if things like clans and sects did not follow Lin Yuan's rules, they could only be wiped out. The history books in his previous life had already proved too much. When a dynasty was in its twilight years, the last straw that broke the camel's back would never be the foreign enemies and barbarians that were greatly exaggerated in the history books. Instead, it would be the aristocratic families that were born from the dynasty, who were growing stronger day by day and were not complacent. Lin Yuan saw that the eyes of those grassroots cultivators were sympathetic. There was no lack of good seedlings among those who were able to cultivate to the airborne realm as grassroots cultivators. However, at their age, they had obviously missed out on Lin Yuan's academy plan, and their fates would not change. Black Snake, Wild Python, Lord Dragon King. A series of shouts woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. When Lin Yuan looked around, not only did he see a rift valley that was sealed by a huge rock, but he also saw some cultivators gathered in 2s and 3s. At that moment, their eyes fell on Lin Yuan. Their eyes were filled with fear, admiration, hatred, and all kinds of other emotions. Those who called him Black Snake were basically those who stood at the top of the northern frontier. They were the forces of various sects and clans. Ever since Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, the privileges of these sects and clans were wiped out one by Lin Yuan. In the past, when they spent in some of the more famous shops in the northern frontier, they could at least get a 30% or 20% discount by using the name of their sect. But now, all commercial activities in the northern frontier were under the control of the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Not only did the disciples of these sects and clans lose their discounts, but whether or not they could buy what they wanted depended on Lin Yuan's mood. Other benefits were almost cut off. And those who called him Wild Python were basically the idle cultivators around the northern frontier. In the end, they had not experienced the fear of being controlled by Lin Yuan. They did not know how terrifying Lin Yuan's power was in the northern frontier. Therefore, they thought that Lin Yuan dared to take control of the northern frontier from the Shunwu dynasty purely because of the current situation. When the Shunwu dynasty took action in the future, Lin Yuan would definitely suffer the crazy revenge of the Shunwu dynasty. Therefore, they called Lin Yuan Wild Python, more or less, with a hint of contempt. As for those who called Lin Yuan Lord Dragon King, they were the disciples of various aristocratic families in the northern frontier. Almost all of them had shares in the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce under Lin Yuan's control. Following Lin Yuan's series of operations to monopolize the spiritual items, almost all of these aristocratic families had eaten until their mouths were dripping with oil. Their respect for this anomaly like Lin Yuan was probably much higher than Hu Yang's. However, Lin Yuan did not care how others called him. In any case, it was just a code name. As long as they did not block his path, it was fine. Otherwise, Lin Yuan did not mind wasting some time to directly crush them into dregs. Why did you all stop here? Lin Yuan looked around and took the initiative to ask. A disciple of an aristocratic family stood up from his resting position and said in a deep voice, "The area we are in is already the bottom of this lake, and the real secret realm is under this rift valley. Right now, the rift valley is sealed by a huge rock. At a certain time, when the moonlight shines, the entrance to the secret realm will be activated and the huge rock will be pushed out. At that time, we will be able to enter the secret realm." Understood. Thank you. Lin Yuan nodded at the disciple of an aristocratic family. Then, he coiled his snake body under the water and rested. He originally thought that these cultivators were waiting for others to arrive because they could not get rid of the huge rock here. After all, those who could appear here at this time were practically the best among the treasure hunters. Otherwise, they would not have arrived here before Lin Yuan. However, from the looks of it, the existence of the huge rock should be part of some kind of mechanism. If they rashly destroyed the huge rock, they might even directly destroy the entrance to the secret realm. Thus, these people were afraid of taking action. As time passed, more and more cultivators gathered here. According to their respective factions, they gradually formed 4 small square formations: foreign cultivators, northern frontier loose cultivators, northern frontier sects, northern frontier aristocratic families. As for the members of the embroidered guard who followed the woman surnamed Zhen, they very naturally blended in with the foreign cultivators. However, due to Lin Yuan's existence, they were very conservative and almost did not greet anyone. It was as if they were worried that Lin Yuan would be able to tell that they were spies of the embroidered guard from their words and actions. However, none of the cultivators from these 4 factions approached Lin Yuan. After all, Lin Yuan was a monster. Even if he had been conferred the title of God of the Northern Frontier, this fact could not be changed. Under these circumstances, perhaps even the fellow cultivators who were laughing and chatting a moment ago could become existences that could take their lives, let alone a monster. Boom! Inexplicably, a sudden clap of thunder erupted underwater. There were no dark clouds or torrential rain. Everyone looked on helplessly as a purple lightning python illuminated the gloomy depths of the water. The side of Lin Yuan's face was illuminated by the purple lightning. At this moment, Lin Yuan ended his nap and turned his head to look at the area where the lightning python was. His heterochromatic eyes reflected the lightning, as if 2 clusters of purple flames had ignited within them. Boom! Another clap of thunder. The purple lightning python struck the huge rock. Under everyone's gaze, the strange scene of lightning under the water slowly pushed the huge rock away. Soon, the door to the secret realm would open. However, the truly bitter battle had begun. It had already begun. Lin Yuan seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll as he wriggled his snake body and approached the trembling huge rock and the lightning python. No one treated him as a target to hunt. After all, the reputation of the Black Snake of the northern frontier was much more resounding than that of ordinary expert. Chapter 321. However, just because others did not treat Lin Yuan as prey did not mean that the scene was thriving. Almost at the same time that the boulder began to tremble, the cultivators present had already drawn their weapons and began to use their own methods to kill those unknown fellow cultivators. It seemed that they wanted to minimize the number of competitors before entering the secret realm. In fact, this was how it should be. This was because most of the cultivators present did not want to monopolize everything in the secret realm. Most of them were people who had been stuck in the airborne realm for a long time. The purpose of participating in the exploration of the secret realm this time was to find suitable spiritual items, then directly consume and refine them to help themselves break through the bottleneck. If this was not the case, when a secret realm opened in the northern frontier, and even Lin Yuan, the ruler, had come, the other cultivators would at most come to drink a mouthful of soup. How would they dare to choose to enter the secret realm on the same day as Lin Yuan? As soon as these cultivators found suitable spiritual items, they would immediately eat them. Why would they care whether or not others needed them? Formation. Lin Yuan heard the woman surnamed Zhen roar in the midst of the chaos. Looking around, Lin Yuan's eyes quickly flashed with a smile. These idle cultivators did not care about what kind of background they had. They did not even care about Lin Yuan and the others, let alone a group of foreign cultivators. Therefore, almost all the cultivators from the northern frontier began to encircle and kill the foreign cultivators. The thoughts of these northern frontier cultivators were very simple. Even if they did not get those spiritual items in the end, the secret realm in the northern frontier should be digested by the people of the northern frontier. It was not the turn of these foreign cultivators at all. The woman surnamed Zhen's roar was like a stabilizing needle. Of course, the quality of the embroidered uniform guards was also there. After being caught off guard at the beginning, the members of the embroidered uniform guards quickly broke away from the current battle. One by one, they took out the cannons at their waists and gathered together. Next, the woman surnamed Zhen did not need to command them anymore. The cannons in their hands roared, and a fiery red barrage instantly shattered the water and swept toward the cultivators who were still fighting. Some of the cultivators were blown up on the spot by the powerful cannons. There were also some cultivators who jumped out of the battlefield that was harvesting human lives. There was a bit of fear in their eyes. No one would have thought that there was an organized force among these foreign cultivators. Everyone was equipped with hand cannons that could shoot underwater. Such a force could no longer be from one side. These people were obviously the elite forces under the Shunwu dynasty. Not bad. Lin Yuan nodded inwardly. Although the cannons of this world seemed to be backward, their power was even more terrifying than those in his previous world. A single point of fire was not enough to make people feel apprehensive. However, when these people formed a formation and shot out a barrage of bullets, even Lin Yuan himself had to temporarily avoid the spearhead. Bang! A dull sound of collision rang out. A member of the embroidered uniform guard directly fell to the ground. With Lin Yuan's keen dynamic vision, he quickly discovered a thin and long bloodstain on the neck of the fallen corpse. An expert had made a move. Moreover, it was an expert who specialized in hidden weapons. Lin Yuan's pupils constricted slightly, and he began to scan the crowd. He had to be on guard against this kind of silent method of taking someone's life. However, compared to the clueless embroidered uniform guard, Lin Yuan's gaze quickly fixed on a bare-chested brawny man. The star of misfortune Chen Guanshan was a wanderer of the Qingjiang dynasty. He specialized in hidden weapons and movement techniques. The hidden weapon he was famous for was called the coil of 1,000 threads. It was somewhat similar to the method Lin Yuan had seen in the movies of his previous world where top killers used steel wires to kill people. However, this method of controlling steel wires used true qi to control objects. The steel wires were hidden in the air, and the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Normally, the coil of 1,000 threads was worn by Chen Guanshan. However, at this moment, Chen Guanshan was bare-chested. It was obvious that the dead embroidered uniform guard was his handiwork. Of course, only someone like Lin Yuan, who placed great importance on the census and had the shifter emperor asking for information from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, knew of Chen Guanshan's background. If it were anyone else, they would never have guessed that Chen Guanshan was actually a hidden weapon expert just by looking at his bare upper body and bulging muscles. Bang! Bang! Another 2 members of the embroidered uniform guard fell. The cause of death was still the thin and long bloodstain on their necks. The woman surnamed Zhen also looked around for a moment, but she still couldn't lock onto her target. She only looked at Lin Yuan suspiciously for a moment before she gritted her teeth and said, "Form the ring formation." According to Lin Yuan's previous world, the ring formation was actually a group of people forming a circle. Under such circumstances, there was almost no blind spot. Therefore, even the most powerful hidden weapon expert wouldn't be able to succeed easily. Treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Lin Yuan couldn't help but sneer in his heart when he saw the woman's decision. There were still 26 members of the embroidered uniform guard. If they formed the ring formation, they would indeed be able to help each other. However, their opponent was always lurking in the dark, waiting for them to reveal a flaw. As for the embroidered uniform guard, they were always tense. Once the confrontation between the 2 sides dragged on, the matter would quickly be dragged out of the woman's control. "The secret realm is open," someone in the crowd shouted, immediately attracting everyone's attention. The boulder blocking the Rift Valley was indeed lifted up by some strange power. It floated quietly in the water, revealing the Rift Valley that was previously covered, as well as an azure light screen. It was unknown what they would see after passing through the screen of light. However, after passing through the screen of light, they would directly enter the secret realm. The woman surnamed Zhen turned her gaze and said with a gloomy face, "Maintain the formation and move towards the entrance of the secret realm." If 26 people wanted to maintain the same pace, it would be easy for a professional army to do so. However, for an organization like the embroidered uniform guard that was similar to spies and secret agents, they naturally didn't have such training. Therefore, it was naturally very difficult for them to maintain the formation and move. The other cultivators swarmed towards the entrance of the pocket dimension. As for the members of the embroidered uniform guard, they were still dawdling their way forward. Although they felt somewhat sullen, there was still an invisible threat all around them. Not many of them dared to leave their formation so recklessly. Seeing her subordinates hanging their heads in dejection after being suppressed, the woman surnamed Zhen could only start to cheer them on. "Don't worry, don't panic. Take it slow. Bang, bang." The woman surnamed Zhen hadn't even finished speaking when 2 more embroidered uniform guard members died. Chapter 322. However, this time, it wasn't Chen Guanshan who made a move. Instead, it was Lin Yuan, who had been secretly observing the situation. In this environment where water was everywhere, it would be too easy for Lin Yuan to use his formless ice to take away a few lives. Although Chen Guanshan had already rushed into the secret plane's entrance, his previous actions had still planted a seed of fear in the hearts of these embroidered guard members. Therefore, Lin Yuan only needed to secretly add fuel to the fire, and he would be able to directly raise their fear to panic. As far as the members of the embroidered guard were concerned, it was as if there was an invisible ghost roaming around, wantonly reaping the lives of their comrades. None of them knew if they would be the next to die, so the invisible pressure they felt was extremely terrifying. Bang! Another corpse fell to the ground. Finally, the taut string was completely pulled apart. These embroidered guard members no longer cared about their formation. They all put down the hand cannons in their hands and swarmed towards the secret plane's entrance. After all, since the person who had been secretly attacking them was still killing people, it meant that he definitely hadn't entered the secret plane. Therefore, if they entered the secret plane now and quickly distanced themselves from the people behind them, they would be safe. In the midst of the panic, the woman surnamed Zhen's orders didn't have any effect. After all, the last 2 times she had spoken, it had only been effective for a very short period of time. This time, everyone was looking out for themselves. Naturally, no one would pay attention to her. The hunt has begun. Lin Yuan walked to the side of the woman surnamed Zhen. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke in a low voice. These 5 simple words were like a heavy hammer that smashed into the woman surnamed Zhen's chest. In an instant, it was as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out of her. Even her footsteps became weak, and her eyes revealed a trace of despair. The embroidered guard members gathered here were definitely not weak. However, they weren't that strong either. If they were caught by Lin Yuan alone or in small numbers, they would definitely die. Originally, everyone had maintained their rationality. She could still manage to coordinate and not give Lin Yuan much of an opportunity to take advantage of. But now, the rationality in the minds of the embroidered guard members had been completely erased. Right now, they only wanted to live. Therefore, the battle between them and Lin Yuan had changed from a competition in which Lin Yuan had a slight advantage to a hunting ritual where Lin Yuan hunted them down. Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the woman surnamed Zhen, who was in a daze. A trace of mockery flashed in his eyes. In the end, this woman wasn't a powerful figure. She looked at the problem too superficially. She probably didn't even consider that the lake was currently surrounded by the Beijing Guard army. Even if she left the lake, she wouldn't be able to easily get past Lei Fan. Furthermore, judging from Chen Guanshan's actions, Lin Yuan was certain that he wasn't the only one targeting the embroidered guard in the dark. After all, although Chen Guanshan was an independent cultivator from the Azure River Empire, the organization that had taught a hidden weapon expert like Chen Guanshan was in existence similar to the embroidered guard in the Azure River Empire. Even if the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire couldn't send a large number of people across the Hengduan Mountains, it wouldn't be a problem for them to send a few elites to kill the embroidered guard. Who asked Lei Chousheng to be so stubborn? The situation was clearly very tense. Even the resources in the national treasury might not be enough to support a few more large-scale battles. However, Lei Chousheng just wasn't willing to lower his head. He kept retreating as he continued to fight the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire. The territories that the embroidered guard wanted had already been taken by force. However, Lei Chousheng just wasn't willing to sign a peace treaty to cede those territories to the embroidered guard. Lin Yuan didn't understand Lei Chousheng's actions, but he could understand Lei Chousheng's feelings. Lei Chousheng's position wasn't rightful to begin with. Even if those people didn't say it out loud, they would still talk about him in secret. If Lei Chousheng couldn't make great contributions while he was on the throne, even if the Lei clan was able to secure the throne, he would still leave behind a terrible name in the history books. Let alone ceding territory, even if he just defended it, he would be cursed to death by the scholars of the previous dynasty in the Shunwu dynasty. Many emperors in Lin Yuan's previous life had similar psychological burdens, so it wasn't strange. What Lin Yuan found strange was that according to the information he had, Chen Guanshan actually had nothing to do with the organization behind him. At most, he would deal with the embroidered guard out of respect for the person who had taught him how to cultivate. However, he definitely wouldn't do it now, nor would he act so decisively. His actions were more like he was trying to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Thinking up to this point, Lin Yuan had already passed through the door of the secret realm. Following the feeling of constantly falling, the last bit of light in front of Lin Yuan's eyes was completely extinguished. When he regained his vision, he discovered that he had already appeared in an unfamiliar body of water. All sorts of aquatic plants floated around him, as well as colorful corals. Below him was pure white sand. When he raised his head to look up, he saw a clear and transparent water surface. At this moment, sunlight shone through the water surface onto the white sand. The entire scene was magnificent. But what about those people who had entered the secret realm before him? What about the rumored aquatic monsters? What about the water-washed spiritual objects that were everywhere? After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to communicate with the system. Stupid system, did I transmigrate again? This place didn't seem like a secret realm filled with dangers and opportunities at all. It was more like a vacation spot. Lin Yuan didn't even see the existence of any other creatures other than himself, detecting a large number of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts approaching. Host, please be careful to avoid them. The system didn't directly reply to Lin Yuan. Instead, a warning popped up. Lin Yuan was slightly startled, his face full of confusion. Wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts. He still had to avoid them. What kind of joke was this? In the next moment, Lin Yuan suddenly saw a stretch of white figures from the corner of his eyes. When he looked again, he saw countless small silver fish about a foot long approaching him. Lin Yuan didn't even have time to count the exact number. In any case, these foot-long silver fish meandered through the water surface of several hundred meters. It was extremely visually impactful. Isn't this 2F** King generous? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth fiercely twitched twice. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He turned around and swept in the direction where there wasn't any movement. The foot-long fish formed a school of several hundred meters long. Each and every one of them was an existence of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts. Even if a void realm cultivator encountered such a school, he would at most be able to hold on for 2 to 3 breaths of time before being gnawed into a pile of bones. No wonder the system didn't even have the intention to talk nonsense with him and directly told him to run. Chapter 323. The silver fish were obviously carnivores. When they saw such a delicious prey like Lin Yuan, these small silver fish started to chase after Lin Yuan with bloodshot eyes, as if they were on drugs. They were like sharp arrows in the clear and transparent water. The silver fish were clearly demonic beasts of wisdom state level 4, but their speed was comparable to that of Lin Yuan, a demonic beast at the peak of wisdom state level 10. The distance between the two sides had been maintained all this time. Even if he considered that the other party might just be a demon beast that was good at speed, Lin Yuan had no intention of stopping. After all, he was confident in his defensive power, but even an iron pestle could be ground into a needle. These small silver fish came up and directly gave him a bite. Even if it was scraping, they could directly bite his dragon scales into pieces. Black snake. Soon, a few cultivators appeared in front of Lin Yuan. There was even a member of the embroidered guard among them. At this moment, they didn't have the ruthlessness they had when they were fighting outside the secret realm. They even chatted casually. Of course, their movements weren't slow at all. They frantically searched the nearby waters, wanting to find the rumored priceless treasures. When they saw Lin Yuan being chased by a large school of silverfish, these cultivators didn't panic. Instead, they looked like they were watching a good show, as if they didn't realize the danger that was about to befall them. After all, powerful monsters were all colossal creatures. Even after reaching the wisdom realm, they would intentionally shrink their bodies to move around. However, there wouldn't be any changes to their nature. When they encountered a battle that required them to go all out, they would still reveal their true forms. Therefore, in their eyes, these silver fish didn't pose any threat at all. There was even a human cultivator who courted death and took the initiative to approach Lin Yuan. Moreover, he reached out to touch the silver fish that were constantly flying over. He sneered, as expected of the Blackwater Dragon King of the northern frontier. Even when encountering these aquatic beasts that aren't under his jurisdiction, our Dragon King is still kind and benevolent. He isn't willing to kill them. Yes, a wild beast. That was the cultivator's judgment. After all, any random intelligent demonic beast would be over 100 meters long, and they wouldn't always move together with their own group. In the eyes of demonic beasts, only the weak would move in groups, and these hundreds of meters long silverfish obviously couldn't be any powerful existences. However, at the very next moment, the cultivator who provoked the silverfish paid a terrible price. The level 8 airborne realm cultivator did not even have a chance to struggle before the silverfish. His shield of spiritual chi was eaten up by the silverfish in less than a blink of an eye, followed by his flesh and bones. The cultivator still had a mocking smile on his face at the moment of his death. He then disappeared right before everyone's eyes. Even the blood floating in the water was quickly devoured by the silverfish. It was obvious that a human was not enough to satisfy the silverfish's thirst for flesh and blood. After devouring the cultivator, the silverfish did not stop at all. Instead, their eyes turned blood red, and they thirsted for flesh and blood even more. Lin Yuan had long expected the cultivator's fate. After all, There had been more than one terrifying disaster like the locust plague in his previous life. Those locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth did not stop at all. All kinds of plants in the mountains were eaten up, and that was under the condition that there were plants for them to eat. At most, the refugees could not find food to fill their stomachs. However, if there were no plants and they encountered a locust plague, those hungry locusts would really eat people directly. Lin Yuan did not know what these silver fish were, but their feeding habits and numbers were all there. It was not an exaggeration to call these silver fish locust. The remaining cultivators frowned at the same time. After seeing their comrade die, they did not dare to have any other thoughts. One by one, they began to follow Lin Yuan and began to run. Finally, the silver fish stopped chasing Lin Yuan and his party. Pairs of blood-red eyes paused on Lin Yuan and the other cultivators for a moment. They then turned from the back to the front and began to turn back the way they came. Phew! Ha, ha! Did we survive? A cultivator put his hands on his waist, showing obvious signs of fear on his face. Those silver fishes were simply too good at chasing. He was at level 8 of the airborne realm, and he entered the secret realm in his prime, yet he ended up being chased by those silver fishes until he was exhausted before he was even able to find any spirit items. If the chase were to continue, he might have been left behind due to exhaustion of spiritual qi. The environment around them was more or less the same. Lin Yuan and the other cultivators were all running with their hands on their heads, so they had no idea how far they had run. There were even some unlucky ones who fell behind due to running out of spiritual qi. They were also devoured by the silver fish. Lin Yuan was speechless. Lin Yuan looked at the panting cultivator with a blank expression and did not say anything. Instead, he began to look around with the corner of his eyes. After being chased by the silver fish, Lin Yuan's rating of the secret realm rose again. While they were safe for the time being, Lin Yuan did not let his guard down. It was obvious that the silver fish were not uninterested in them. Before they left, Lin Yuan was able to see a strong reluctance in the eyes of those silver fish. It was obvious that those silver fish did not let them go of their own accord. As such, there were only two possibilities for the current situation where they escaped. First, every creature in the secret realm was limited by the creator of the realm. Lin Yuan and the others just happened to escape the space of the silverfish, which was why they were able to escape. Second, the silverfish did not let them go for any other reason but because they had entered the territory of even more terrifying creatures. If they entered the waters without careful consideration, those silverfish would have turned from hunters to prey in an instant. As such, the silverfish had no choice but to give up on pursuing them. Lin Yuan personally leaned toward the latter. After all, if it was the former, the being who set up the secret realm was too terrifying. Not only could it create such a terrifying secret realm, but it could also cut the area in the secret realm and restrict the activities of the creatures in the secret realm. That being said, the fire Kirin, who had once created the Sumeru world, was far inferior to the being who created the secret realm. Chapter 324. Currently, the strongest in the demon clan was only in the wild demon realm, while the strongest in the human clan was only in the Kongming realm. It was hard to say if there were existences of a higher realm above them, but this was definitely not the era where they were active. Moreover, not only did such existences not appear in the world, they did not even leave behind any inheritance. Otherwise, with the aptitude of the beast lord Kirin, how could he be in the wild demon realm now? This arcane realm could not have been left behind by the mighty people of ancient times, could it? What kind of joke was this? Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar was heard. Lin Yuan instantly stood up, his pair of different-colored eyes revealing a dignified look. Although the system did not indicate what realm the owner of this roar was in, Lin Yuan felt a strong pressure from this roar. This was extremely inconceivable for Lin Yuan, who had the pure blood of the water dragon in his body, because he could not see a trace of pressure on the faces of the human cultivators around him. They were purely afraid that the owner of this roar would appear in front of them. Therefore, this pressure should have come from above the bloodline. To be able to suppress the blood of the water dragon so easily, could it be that the owner was a descendant of the spring snow dragon? I'm kidding, brother. Although Lin Yuan had spread the rumor that this arcane realm was actually the burial place of a fallen dragon, Lin Yuan did not really think that there were pure-blooded dragons in this arcane realm. After all, there were only a few of them in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. How could they appear in such a small arcane realm? However, the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yuan had to mobilize all his attention and began to be vigilant in the direction of the roar. Soon, two huge creatures that were constantly entangled and strangling each other appeared in Lin Yuan's sight. Dragon. Jiao. Lin Yuan's gaze was almost instantly attracted by the entangled huge creatures. Although the system did not prompt him and it was the first time he saw these two creatures, the identity of the other party inexplicably appeared in his mind. As a giant python that was about to transform into a dragon, Lin Yuan had an innate sense of familiarity with the dragon, but that was all. After all, in this strange arcane realm, who knew what kind of mentality these monsters had? What if they were all bloodthirsty lunatics like the Fire Kirin's Sumeru world? As for the Jiao, it was Lin Yuan's first time seeing it. However, he had heard of this creature more than once in his previous life. It was said that this creature was an imaginary creature based on the model of a water snake. Some people said that the Jiao would transform into a dragon after 500 years, and it was an existence similar to a young dragon. However, whether this creature really existed or not, there was no evidence in Lin Yuan's era. He had only seen the carvings of the Jiao on some bronzes from the end of the Western Zhou dynasty. Therefore, to be able to see the existence of this creature with his own eyes was still a great shock to Lin Yuan. However, at least Lin Yuan could be sure that the Jiao in this world was not a young dragon. On the contrary, this Jiao did not seem to be inferior to the dragon it was fighting. However, in terms of combat strength, the two should be at the same level. Gulp. A human cultivator swallowed a mouthful of saliva heavily. He really regretted it now. He shouldn't have rashly entered this secret realm that had never been explored by anyone just because of some rumors. First, there were those extremely terrifying silverfish. Now, there were two extremely terrifying snake-type demonic beasts that were fighting each other. If he was lucky enough to survive, who knew what kind of terrifying things he would see in a while? Run. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and calmly spat out a word. Immediately, he rushed in another direction without looking back. When he was still a monster in the Spirit Awakening realm, he had tangled with an earthen yellow python. In the end, he had easily strangled a tiger-type monster whose cultivation was higher than his. Although the dragon and the Jiao were fighting ferociously and did not pay attention to these creatures who had intruded into this realm, their position just happened to be in the path of the two monsters. If they did not dodge in time and were caught in the entanglement of the two monsters, Lin Yuan would not dare to say that he could survive even if he revealed his true form, let alone these fragile human cultivators. When the remaining cultivators saw that Lin Yuan had decisively fled, they naturally did not dare to stay in place. After all, as long as the Heaven's Strength Realm big shots did not make a move, Lin Yuan was the strongest person to explore this arcane realm. Now that even Lin Yuan did not have the intention to fight with the two monsters in front of them, why should they show off? In fact, Lin Yuan and his party were not the only ones who were crazily hunted down. All the people who entered the secret realm were disrupted by some kind of special force and were randomly teleported to various corners of the secret realm. Those who were lucky were even directly sent to the side of a certain spiritual object, and those who were unlucky fell directly into the nest of a demon beast. However, most of them were like Lin Yuan and the others, who were randomly teleported to a certain area in the secret realm and then began their journey to explore the secret realm. However, with the exception of those who were directly sent to the side of the spirit item, almost everyone else was chased by the monsters in the arcane realm in a frenzy. They did not see the spirit item at all, and many cultivators even lost their lives for no reason. If the forces behind those cultivators were to find out about it, they would probably be heartbroken. After all, while airborne realm cultivators were not top-notch fighters, they were still very difficult to train as the mainstay of the forces. Especially those who were able to enter the arcane realm smoothly, there was no way they would be ordinary people. If someone at level 8, 9, or even 10 of the airborne realm were to run into monsters in the arcane realm, they would be crushed in an instant without even having the chance to fight back. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would have to endure a long period of being chased. There was even a chance that they would be able to shake off the monsters chasing them and enter the territory of more powerful monsters. In the beginning, those cultivators all thought that they were just unlucky. However, the area of the arcane realm was limited. Soon, many cultivators gathered together and began to talk about their unbearable experiences during this period of time. It was only then that they found that everyone seemed to be the same. That arcane realm was not for them to explore at all. It was for fear that the monsters in the arcane realm would starve to death in there. That was why they deliberately let those cultivators in there to feed them. In an instant, countless cultivators cursed the person who spread the news about the arcane realm. The resentment of those people almost broke through the sky. At that moment, the woman surnamed Jeanne, who was being cursed by countless people, was mixed in the crowd with a complicated expression on her face. She looked at the arcane realm that was completely unfamiliar to her. Chapter 325. Why was it like this? How did things turn out like this? Why were the things in the mystic realm completely different from what the embroidered uniform guard secretaries had surveyed? 4 hours later, almost all the cultivators who had entered the mystic realm had gathered in a relatively safe area. It was also the territory of the silverfish that Lin Yuan's group had been in before. Although there were many silverfish, they were all Class 4 sentient realm demonic beasts. These demonic beasts should be at the bottom of the food chain in the mystic realm. In terms of strength, Lin Yuan could easily crush a large number of them when he saw the flying serpent and water flood dragon entangled together. After Lin Yuan's group had rushed for a distance, they decisively returned to the area where the silver fish had first chased them and successfully met up with the cultivators who were gradually gathering here. That area should be the most terrifying place. Lin Yuan had seen at least 7 water flood dragons. As for the slightly weaker flying serpents, Lin Yuan had seen at least 30 of them. Even the weakest of them was comparable to a Heaven Dipper realm existence. With Lin Yuan's little bit of cultivation, even if he had the pure water flood dragon bloodline in his body, he wouldn't dare to move freely in that area. However, perhaps because of the bloodline, although those water flood dragons didn't communicate with Lin Yuan, none of them took the initiative to attack Lin Yuan. In fact, when some of the flying serpents tried to attack them, the water flood dragons would let out a series of warning roars. Otherwise, they might not have been able to walk out of there alive. Could this place really be the burial ground of some ancient dragon? Lin Yuan secretly pondered in his heart, and there was some doubt in his eyes. Die! An angry roar suddenly woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. A burly man with bulging muscles brandished 2 broad axes and charged straight at Lin Yuan. Just by looking at his scarlet eyes, Lin Yuan was certain that this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Or rather, this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Now, whenever he saw a demonic beast, he would have an inner demon. He didn't care that Lin Yuan was an outsider like him and treated Lin Yuan as one of the mystic realm's demonic beasts. He immediately brandished his weapons and charged at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's thoughts were interrupted, and he opened his eyes with an unhappy face. A blue light bloomed in his heterochromatic pupils. The next moment, the water around the brawny man instantly rushed. There was no chance to react at all. These water currents formed a strong water rope and directly tied the brawny man up. Then, Lin Yuan looked around. The group of human cultivators lowered their heads silently, not daring to make any eye contact with Lin Yuan. After all, they knew very well that even if they cultivated water-type cultivation methods, fighting underwater with a water-type demonic beast like Lin Yuan would not be easy. As for this burly man, who would care about him? He wasn't smart enough to go looking for trouble with that black snake. Wasn't that just courting death? Seeing that no one spoke up and no one stood up for the burly man, Lin Yuan sneered. Then, he controlled the water rope to quickly tighten. The burly man didn't even have a chance to struggle and was directly strangled to death by the invisible water rope. After the burly man lost his life, Lin Yuan continued to control the water rope to strangle his corpse. In the blink of an eye, the corpse was almost unrecognizable. Only then did Lin Yuan let go of the man. As the only anomaly among the explorers of the mystic realm, Lin Yuan didn't expect these human cultivators to stand on his side. He was even sure that he would be excluded. If he kept silent, someone would take the initiative to expel him from this temporarily safe gathering place. Even though the burly man with the axe had messed up his thoughts even more, it just happened to give him an opportunity to make an example out of him. Before some people with ulterior motives could make things difficult for him, Lin Yuan would use his strength to shut their mouths. Black Snake, how dare you? In the end, there were still some people who couldn't sit still, and a pair of cold eyes fell on Lin Yuan's face. Lin Yuan looked at the human cultivators who stood up, and the sneer on his face deepened. Among them were the embroidered uniform guards, the disciples of the northern frontier sects, and a few demon slayers who often wandered around the Hungduan mountain range. No matter what they thought of Lin Yuan before, Lin Yuan's identity as a Yarrow beast was enough reason for them to make things difficult for Lin Yuan. The Demon Slayers Association had been completely abolished by Lin Yuan. Even though the trade of Yarrow beast materials in the northern frontier continued, this lucrative business no longer had anything to do with the Demon Slayers Association. Now, almost all the people who hunted in the Yarrow beast forest were hunting teams organized by the northern frontier's royal residents. There were even some Yarrow beasts who hunted other Yarrow beasts in exchange for spiritual items for cultivation. The demon slayers who made a living by hunting Yarrow beasts were just like them. Even though Lin Yuan didn't hate them, he naturally had a trace of disgust towards them. Naturally, he wouldn't allow them to continue developing in the northern frontier. Following the collapse of the Demon Slayers Association, some of the demon slayers who had benefited greatly from the association had no choice but to become idol cultivators. Therefore, compared to the sects that hadn't been uprooted yet, these demon slayers hated Lin Yuan even more, the true ruler of the northern frontier. It was to be expected that they would make things difficult for Lin Yuan at a time like this. Stop fighting amongst yourselves. Before Lin Yuan could confront the few demon slayers who had expressed their stance, someone couldn't help but yell. Lin Yuan glanced at the person who had spoken. It was Chen Guanshan, who had taken action against the embroidered guard earlier. Lin Yuan had mixed feelings about Chen Guanshan. He felt that this person was deliberately trying to curry favor with him. However, he had only acted in secret before. Now, Chen Guanshan was openly supporting him. Naturally, the meaning behind this was different. No matter what, Chen Guanshan's words were no different from standing against the sects of the Northern Frontier and the remnants of the Northern Frontier's Demon Slayers Association. The situation had spiraled out of control. Many cultivators even felt a faint sense of despair. No one knew what would happen next. If a conflict really did erupt, Lin Yuan would only be able to escape at most. As for saving Chen Guanshan, who had spoken up for him, that would be a pipe dream. The demon slayers who had angrily rebuked Lin Yuan earlier narrowed their eyes. They said coldly, "Junior, what is the meaning of this? This Yarrow beast is plotting against us. It attacked and killed a member of our human race without permission. Did you not see it? Or are you saying that you are jackals of the same tribe as this Yarrow beast?" Chapter 326. Who was Chen Guanshan? He was a renowned master of hidden weapons in the Qingjiang dynasty. Back in the territory of the Qingjiang dynasty, Chen Guanshan's name would have easily silenced a large number of cultivators. However, in the northern frontier, Chen Guanshan's name was clearly not well known enough. Any random person would have dared to call Chen Guanshan a young man. "You called me a young man?" The corner of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled into a mocking smirk. The aura of a heavenly strength realm cultivator slowly emanated from Chen Guanshan at the very next moment. The demon slayer, who had been making a ruckus earlier, stared at Chen Guanshan with wide eyes, unable to believe what he had just heard. He was just a level 9 airborne realm demon slayer, after all. He was hardly considered a big deal even in the north. Yet, A heavenly strength realm being like Chen Guanshan was more than capable of squashing him to death right there and then. After calming down and thinking for a while, the demon slayer took a deep breath and frowned. Who are you? As someone who had been hanging around the northern frontier for decades, he could even proudly say that there were few people he didn't know in the northern frontier. Of course, those powerful people didn't know him at all. They had only heard of him or seen him from afar. However, at that moment, he couldn't have imagined that there would be someone who looked like Chen Guanshan among the heavenly strength realm cultivators in the northern frontier. In the end, he didn't find any clues. Chen Guanshan was still not among those who were stuck at the bottleneck and could break through to the heavenly strength realm at any time. That meant that the burly young man was a cultivator from outside. But why would a cultivator from outside be on the Black Snake's side? The Demon Slayer Master could not figure it out. Of course, he did not have the chance to figure it out. By the time he opened his mouth to ask, Chen Guanshan had already made his move. Moreover, his first move was an extremely terrifying killing move. Practically no one could see Chen Guanshan's hands move. Next, the Demon Slayer Master's chest was filled with sharp daggers. Hiss! A series of gasps could be heard from all around. At this moment, Chen Guanshan lifted his eyelids slightly and said expressionlessly, "There is a right and wrong. Everyone is in an extremely dangerous mystic realm. Forgive me for being blunt, but if you recklessly explore this mystic realm with your own strength, you will only die without knowing how you died. Therefore, I advise everyone to cooperate sincerely and explore this mystic realm together. It would be best if you can find the spiritual item, but if you can't, you have to find a way out." Chen Guanshan's words undoubtedly resonated with many cultivators. They could put aside their prejudices and hatred towards Lin Yuan because they didn't have the capital they used to have. In this mystic realm that was fraught with danger, any powerful combatant was a valuable asset. Instead of chasing Lin Yuan away because of some old grudge, it was better for everyone to unite and find a way out of the mystic realm. Whatever grudges they had, they could settle them after leaving this place. The cultivators all agreed and returned to their seats to rest. After all, they had all been chased by demonic beasts in the mystic realm for half a day. Apart from Lin Yuan, who was a demonic beast, only those Heaven Dipper realm experts could recover their fighting strength in a short time. This was also one of the reasons why Lin Yuan killed the axe-wielding brawny man in an instant. After everyone rested, Chen Guanshan walked over to Lin Yuan's side and sat down cross-legged. He cast a meaningful glance at Lin Yuan and even winked playfully. Previously, outside the mystic realm, and what he said just now, undoubtedly displayed Chen Guanshan's personality that didn't match his appearance. He was a person who was both sinister and clever. Lin Yuan still maintained a vigilant attitude and didn't take the initiative to speak. "Black Snake, I know you are very curious now. Curious as to why I am helping you. It's just that you don't want to say it." Chen Guanshan looked as if he had seen through Lin Yuan and leisurely transmitted his voice. "The faction that I came from specially invited me to the northern frontier to suppress the activities of the embroidered uniform guards and use this opportunity to put pressure on the Shunwu dynasty. This is for public reasons. And to have a good relationship with you is also very important to my plans. This is for private reasons." Enough. Before Chen Guanshan could finish speaking, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to interrupt Chen Guanshan. He narrowed his eyes and said, "If you want to join the Association of the Demon Emperor, you can just say it. In any case, I will not agree to it." Chen Guanshan's back was facing the crowd, but he was facing Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan finished speaking, Chen Guanshan's expression instantly turned awkward. This was because he didn't expect that his little thoughts were completely under Lin Yuan's control. He also didn't expect that Lin Yuan would actually reject him so directly. But why? The Association of the Demon Emperor was far from having enough manpower. There was only one Heaven Dipper realm existence, the Winesword Mystic. There was no reason to reject a Heaven Dipper realm concealed weapon expert like him. "You are from the Qing River Empire. I don't know what you are thinking, and it has nothing to do with me. But I am sure that you and I are definitely not on the same side. As for the plan that you mentioned, I have a rough guess in my heart. In order to dispel those thoughts that you shouldn't have, I don't mind wasting my breath on you. In fact, you have already severed your relationship with the faction behind you. This time, they still found you and took out a bargaining chip that you couldn't reject. Or, they threatened you with the safety of the people you care about, forcing you to come to the northern frontier. So I am sure that you are very dissatisfied. Now that you are in a predicament, even if you don't say it, I am sure that you don't have much confidence in finding a way out. So the dissatisfaction in your heart has accumulated to the extreme. It can even be said that you are on the verge of exploding. At this stage, you are even thinking of taking revenge on the faction that forced you to come to the northern frontier. But obviously, you don't have enough strength, so you thought of me. You might as well use the name of the Association of the Demon Emperor on yourself. In this way, if the faction behind you wants to touch you again, they will have to think twice. Lin Yuan still squinted his eyes and said slowly in his mind, "Of course, your interest in the Association of the Demon Emperor is actually too great. But you understand the organizational structure of the Association of the Demon Emperor. You know very well that even I, the Demon Emperor, don't have the authority to order the members of the Association of the Demon Emperor to do things. On the contrary, the Association of the Demon Emperor adopts the method of helping each other. If any member wants other members to help him, he will have to take out a bargaining chip that is full of sincerity. Otherwise, the Association of the Demon Emperor can completely ignore it. Rather than saying that you are interested in the potential of the Association of the Demon Emperor, it is better to say that you are interested in the freedom of the Association of the Demon Emperor." Chapter 327. Lin Yuan's words were not unreasonable. The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce did not only threaten the Shunwu dynasty. With the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's existence, the goods of the 7 dynasties could all flow through the Hengduan Mountains. It was much more convenient and safer than going around the Hengduan Mountains and passing through several dynasties to reach their destination. Therefore, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's behavior not only brought more benefits to the northern frontier, but also brought benefits to the 7 dynasties. If any of the 7 dynasties offended Lin Yuan, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would only have to give up a portion of their profits. However, this dynasty would need 3 to 5 times the time to conduct trade activities. If this situation persisted for a long time, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would soon be left far behind by the other 6 dynasties in terms of economy. Although the Shifter Emperor Association was a shady organization, no one in the 7 dynasties dared to offend someone like Lin Yuan. Even the Shunwu dynasty had to do things in secret. Otherwise, it would be easy for their economy to collapse, making their already poor treasury even worse. Then Chen Guanshan's eyes were wide open as he still tried to persuade Lin Yuan to change his mind. However, Lin Yuan only narrowed his eyes slightly and replied casually, "If you just want to join the Shifter Emperor Association, then I have nothing to say. However, your thoughts are not limited to just this, right?" Chen Guanshan was speechless again. He did not expect this black snake to be so proficient in manipulating people's minds. At this moment, Chen Guanshan even felt cold sweat seeping out of his back. It was as if Lin Yuan had seen through him completely. "I advise you to put away those unrealistic thoughts. The Shifter Emperor Association's operation model is indeed good, but the other 6 dynasties are all deeply rooted. There is no room for the association to grow at all, unlike now where I can casually summon a large group of people who are dissatisfied with the Shunwu dynasty. Other than the demi-humans and criminals, even the disciples and officials of the Wanjian dynasty have expressed their support for us. This condition is not available in the other 6 dynasties, so the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce can do business there. However, once the association enters the territories of the other 6 dynasties, it will be quickly monitored. If you rope in the criminals and demi-humans of the Qingjiang dynasty to establish a branch of the association, then what awaits you will be the cruelest attack from the Qingjiang dynasty." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed. Chen Guanshan could not understand what he was thinking at all. However, Chen Guanshan had to agree because Lin Yuan's words were indeed reasonable. The association of the shifter emperor seemed to be loose, but it was actually very united. Their muzzles were all aimed at the Shunwu dynasty. Back then, the Shunwu dynasty did not take the association of the shifter emperor seriously, so now they had lost the northern frontier. Even the cities bordering the northern frontier had begun to be infiltrated by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce and the association of the shifter emperor. In the past, the economic center was in the imperial capital, in the south along the coast, so it was normal for the country to be prosperous and the people to be at peace. However, the Shunwu dynasty was now at war on 4 fronts. Even if the Hungduan Mountains and the dragon palaces of the 4 seas had stopped attacking the Shunwu dynasty, the northern frontier had already fallen into Lin Yuan's control. What belonged to the Shunwu dynasty was only left in name. The rich south was also riddled with holes after being attacked by the sea monsters under the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. Now that the south could not even take care of itself, how could they have the leisure to support other cities? In this way, the northern frontier, which could create a lot of benefits, naturally became a delicious piece of cake in the eyes of the various city lords and aristocratic families. Even the sects and forces that were not within Lin Yuan's sphere of influence were welcoming of the association of the shifter emperor and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although Lin Yuan had been hiding in the northern frontier during this period of time, if he were to really take action, the Qingpeng king, who had hundreds of thousands of soldiers, could be easily defeated. However, Lin Yuan obviously did not have the intention to be a minister, so naturally, he would not share Lei Qiusheng's burden. With the Shunwu dynasty as an example, even if the kings of the other 6 dynasties were stupid, they would not allow the association of the shifter emperor or similar organizations to take root and sprout in their own territories. Therefore, Lin Yuan could use the northern frontier as a foundation to slowly radiate his power to the surroundings. However, if Chen Guanshan wanted to use the northern frontier as a pretense to establish a branch of the association of the shifter emperor in the territories of other dynasties, it was undoubtedly an act of suicide. Once Chen Guanshan did so, the other 6 dynasties would not only attack him immediately, but they would also directly block the outflow of foreign trade to the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, minimizing the benefits that Lin Yuan could obtain as much as possible. Phew, Lin Yuan let out a long breath, tilted his head, and said, "In short, if you want to stay in the northern frontier and join the association of the shifter emperor, I welcome you. However, if you want to borrow my banner and establish your own association of the shifter emperor, then I will be the first to crusade against you." Chen Guanshan's expression was uncertain, but he just nodded silently, indicating that he understood. Although he was unwilling, Lin Yuan had already made it very clear to him, and those ideas in his heart were destined to not become reality. Therefore, he could only put his attention on the urgent matter at hand, to find the exit. The existence of this secret realm had been discovered by the embroidered uniform guard. Even though the ordinary cultivators didn't know about it, the cultivators with a bit of knowledge had already surrounded the woman surnamed Zhen and the embroidered uniform guard under her command. Pairs of furious eyes were fixed on them, as if they wanted an explanation. Chen Guanshan let out a sigh, cupped his hands at Lin Yuan, and walked towards the woman surnamed Zhen. Seeing Chen Guanshan's back gradually getting further and further away, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh. Not to mention that the plan to establish a branch of the association of the shifter emperor was impossible. Even if it could be done, Lin Yuan would not agree. After all, if the branch of the association of the shifter emperor was established by Chen Guanshan, then when Lin Yuan's influence expanded to the territory of the Azure River Empire one day, would this branch of the association of the shifter emperor listen to Lin Yuan or Chen Guanshan? The organization was loose, but just like when he dealt with the remnants of the Zhu clan, Lin Yuan could casually gather the members of the association of the shifter emperor to work for him, and what he needed to pay was just a little benefit that slipped through the fingers of the system. This simple condition was not something that anyone could casually pay. The association of the shifter emperor seemed to be free now, but in fact, it was completely under Lin Yuan's control. Therefore, he did not wish for the association of the shifter emperor to gradually degenerate into an organization that even he felt unfamiliar with, and even more so, did not wish for existences like Chen Guanshan and Li Guanshan, who tried to use the name of the association of the shifter emperor to seek benefits for themselves. Chapter 328. Let's not talk about Chen Guanshan's thoughts. At this moment, the one with the most complicated feelings was none other than the woman surnamed Zhen. After all, they were surrounded by a group of cultivators. Although no one said anything, she knew that this secret realm was so dangerous and terrifying. As the embroidered uniform guard who spread the news, if they didn't give an explanation, it would be very difficult for them to get out of here alive. But an explanation, what kind of explanation was that? Even now, she was still in a state of confusion. She had no idea how things had turned out like this. The situation in the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had explored was completely different from this one. If she had known that this secret realm was so dangerous, she would have only needed to lure the black snake in. Why would she have come? Swish swish swish, swish swish swish. It wasn't some cultivator's angry roar that broke the silence, nor was it the woman surnamed Zhen's explanation. Instead, it was a series of strange sounds. When everyone turned their heads, they discovered that a large school of silver-white fish had swum back. In reality, when they had just arrived here, the group of silver-white fish had already attacked them more than once. It was just a group of Wisdom Realm Level 4 fiend beasts. Even if they had an absolute advantage in numbers, these small silver-white fish still weren't a match for cultivators who had reached a certain level of numbers. That was why their previous attacks were easily repelled. But now that the silver-white fish had returned, they clearly weren't as easy to deal with as before. According to the system's notification, there were even quite a few elite experts of Wisdom Realm Level 6 and Level 8 in this school of silver-white fish. And in the huge school of fish that stretched for at least several thousand meters, there were even 2 peak Wisdom Realm fish kings. In terms of pure strength, the school of fish that had chased after Lin Yuan's group wasn't even worthy of carrying the shoes of this school of fish. Prepare for battle. A cultivator pulled out the saber at his waist. Even though it was inconvenient to brandish it underwater, everyone present knew how terrifying the silver-white fish were. That was why even those who were extremely confident in their physical strength chose to use all kinds of weapons at this moment. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to lose some parts of their bodies as they fought. In the face of a great enemy, private conflicts could no longer erupt. No one could say whether or not they would be able to survive the end of this battle. But at this moment, if they didn't fight, they would die. Only by fighting would they have a chance of survival. The cultivators all pulled out their weapons and waited, their eyes occasionally stopping on those large silver fish that were much larger than normal small silver fish, as if they wanted to deduce what cultivation realm these new fiend beasts were in. However, they didn't have the system after all, so based on their auras, they could only determine that these fiend beasts were still in Wisdom Realm. After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan took the initiative to say, "The silver fish that are 1 foot long are at the 4th level of wisdom perception, those that are about 3 feet long are at the 6th level of wisdom perception, and those that are 7 feet long are at the 8th level of wisdom perception. Be careful, there are 2 powerful auras in this school of fish that aren't inferior to mine. It's just that I haven't found them yet." Almost on par with Lin Yuan? The cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Although most of them hadn't seen Lin Yuan fight with his full strength, Lin Yuan's killing of the desolate demon realm's fire Kirin was something that everyone knew. Even if Lin Yuan took advantage of the fact that the fire Kirin was injured and weak, he should still be around the 10th level of wisdom perception. In other words, in this school of fish, there were at least 2 terrifying 10th level fiend beasts. Just as everyone was on high alert, Lin Yuan suddenly received a telepathic message, "As fiend beasts, why are you helping these damned humans?" Before this, he hadn't communicated with the water serpent and the flying serpent. Now that he was facing a school of small silver fish, the other party actually took the initiative to communicate with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be dazed for a moment, but very quickly, Lin Yuan locked onto a large fish that was about 3 meters long hidden in the school of fish. It was clearly one of the 2 10th level of wisdom perception. Faced with the other party's question, Lin Yuan only sneered, and coldly replied, "That's right, it's true that you and I are both fiend beasts, but the way your fiend beasts chased after me before, they didn't treat me as one of them." Trying to rope in Lin Yuan just because they were both fiend beasts. To put it bluntly, even if all of the cultivators here were added together, It probably wouldn't be enough to feed this school of fish. After killing these humans, these so-called fellow fiend beasts would make a move on him. Even though Lin Yuan had been a fiend beast for more than a year, his memories of being a human hadn't been erased. He understood the principle of interdependence, so he didn't continue to use telepathy to communicate with the other party at all. As he spoke, he used his serpent tail to point out the location of this fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him. Seeing Lin Yuan so cooperative, many of the cultivators who were worried that Lin Yuan would stab them in the back all sighed in relief. Mate, then you deserve to die. The Fish King was clearly greatly angered by Lin Yuan's actions. After a cold snort, it commanded the school of fish around it to start gathering towards the cultivators. Large mouths continuously opened and closed as they tore at the cultivators. In the clear water, they could even clearly see a few sharp teeth in these small silverfishes' mouths. The small silverfish's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, they came into contact with the humans standing at the very front. Lin Yuan controlled the water to kill a school of small silverfish, at the same time saving a few cultivators who seemed to have been scared out of their wits. Only then did he say in a low voice, "These fiend beasts aren't that big of a deal, it's just that there are a lot of them. Everyone work harder, we'll be able to kill them all very quickly." After being reminded by Lin Yuan, some of the cultivators who were scared out of their wits seemed to have woken up from a dream. They began to brandish their weapons to attack the small silver fish that approached them. The situation of the battle quickly became tense. However, to Lin Yuan, ordinary wisdom state level 4 silver fish couldn't bring him any attribute points. Other than saving a few cultivators, Lin Yuan's main targets were still those level 6 and level 8 fellows. Although it was only 0, 1 or 0, 3 attribute points, it was better than wasting his efforts. On the other hand, the two fish kings had been hiding in the back. They didn't come up to fight with the cultivators, nor did they have any intention of fighting with Lin Yuan. Only now did Lin Yuan suddenly realize that the fiend beasts in this secret realm seemed to be strange. Regardless of whether it was the water serpent that was secretly protecting him or the fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him, the fiend beasts in this secret realm clearly had their own thoughts. However, what was strange was that the fiend beasts in this secret realm didn't seem to be proficient in battle. Whether it was these small silverfish, the water serpent, or the flying serpent, they all only knew how to use brute force. Chapter 329. The inside and outside of the secret realm were like two different worlds. The demonic beasts of the secret realm were more like demonic beasts. They disdained to interact with other demonic beasts, even if it was their own kind. They also didn't scheme. Compared to those mysterious innate talents, they seemed to have more faith in their physical strength. Although Lin Yuan did not see these demonic beasts of the secret territory display their innate ability, even though he controlled the water flow to wantonly strangle those small silver fish, the opposing Fish King still had no intention of controlling the power of the water flow to fight with Lin Yuan. It just watched coldly from the side. The Fish King's question seemed to have been asked out of curiosity, not to pull Lin Yuan into its camp. They were all demonic beasts, so why should they help humans? It was hard to say how long this secret realm had existed, but the demonic beast's attitude towards humans was similar to the demonic beast's attitude towards humans before they had unified the Qianwu continent. Their contempt and disdain wasn't something that could be casually feigned. After all, the demonic beasts of the Qianwu continent didn't dare to act tough when they saw humans in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range. This secret realm really did seem to have been created by some almighty expert in ancient times. That almighty expert had probably seen a glimpse of the future through the friction between demonic beasts and humans. That was why he had created this secret realm. His goal was to ensure that the demonic beast's bloodline continued to flourish. These demonic beasts were most likely the descendants of that almighty expert. They had stayed in this fake secret realm that didn't see the light of day and had lost contact with the outside world. That was why they didn't know the relationship between the demonic beasts of the Qianwu continent and humans. If that was the case, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up with fervor. If it really was as he had guessed, then the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had discovered was real. However, the secret realm had been split into different regions by that almighty expert. Adding on the fact that they had been randomly teleported into the secret realm, they naturally wouldn't be able to find that almighty expert's hidden treasure. The value of this secret realm might be even higher than what the embroidered uniform guard had expected. Aside from the demonic beasts that had been born in this secret realm, there might also be the legacy and inheritance of that almighty expert. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan calmed himself down. The fervor in his eyes dissipated a little. He still needed more evidence to determine if it was the same as what he had speculated, but there was still an urgent matter to deal with right now. Of course, the cultivators who could enter the secret zone were no ordinary people. As a result, even though they had been shocked by the momentum of the countless silverfish's charge, they had already adapted to the silverfish's rhythm. Moreover, they relied on their higher cultivation to directly unleash various techniques. In the blink of an eye, swathes of silverfish were killed. A large amount of blood mist practically dyed the clear water red. However, it wasn't as if the humans didn't suffer any losses. In just a short while, the number of human cultivators who had died to the silverfish's sharp teeth had already exceeded 2 digits. That was almost a sixth of the total number of human cultivators present. Licking his lips, Lin Yuan swung his serpent tail, causing a few silver fish that had circled around him to explode. He was still controlling the water flow to kill the silverfish, but the frequency at which he did so was no longer as terrifying as before. He only saved a few human cultivators at critical moments. Moreover, most of them were disciples of aristocratic families. A few of them were foreign cultivators, and none of them held any enmity towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was naturally confident that he could escape unscathed from the encirclement of the silver fish. If worse came to worst, he could just run to the neighboring water WM's territory and hide there. So, what did the lives of those cultivators who had old grudges with him have to do with him? It would already be good enough if Lin Yuan didn't take advantage of this opportunity to kill them. Chen Guanshan took a deep breath and threw out a cold light with a flick of his hand. In almost an instant, he killed a small shoal of hundreds of silver fish. Then, his gaze paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. Suddenly, a look of understanding flashed across his eyes. The short conversation he had with Lin Yuan before had already made him understand that this black snake's intelligence wasn't low. His grasp of the human heart was an existence that made those scheming strategists gasp in admiration. Therefore, when Lin Yuan suddenly switched from being the main attacker to a support, Lin Yuan must have discovered something and was deliberately eliminating dissidents. Chen Guanshan wasn't the only one who noticed Lin Yuan's abnormal behavior. However, the majority of people thought that this black snake's strength was insufficient and couldn't maintain its previous might. When they saw that the black snake was still protecting the cultivators among them who were in danger because of their carelessness or inability to take care of everything, they didn't continue to pay attention to it. This black snake, the woman surnamed Zhen, also noticed Lin Yuan's abnormality. Moreover, she didn't dismiss it with a smile. Instead, she seriously observed Lin Yuan for a moment and instantly clenched her teeth. At the beginning, this guy was crazily attacking the shoal of silver fish while also taking care of the cultivators who were in danger. Now, he was attacking the shoal of silver fish from time to time and was deliberately relaxing his protection of the Demon Slayer Master and the sect's disciples. This black snake was clearly doing this on purpose. The only thing the woman surnamed Zhen couldn't figure out was that Lin Yuan had clearly started to eliminate dissidents. Why was the embroidered uniform guard still under Lin Yuan's protection? The woman surnamed Zhen knew that there must be a reason for this abnormality since she was young. Now, the black snake's strange behavior had caused her to be even more vigilant. However, Lin Yuan didn't have any intention of paying attention to the woman surnamed Zhen. He didn't even feel like looking at her. Although he knew that this woman definitely had the most detailed information in her hands, among all the members of the embroidered uniform guard, the woman surnamed Zhen was absolutely the least likely to cooperate with him. Taking a step back, even if the woman surnamed Zhen was willing to cooperate with him, Lin Yuan still had to first consider whether this woman who could casually turn her husband into a bait to lure her into a trap was worthy of his trust. At this moment, the woman surnamed Zhen, who had been watching Lin Yuan all this time, suddenly discovered that Lin Yuan seemed to have sensed her gaze. He turned his head and looked at her in the eye. Then, he very naturally revealed a wisp of a smile. The woman surnamed Zhen didn't know how to describe this smile. She only felt that Lin Yuan's smile was like a steel knife ruthlessly stabbing into her heart. She inexplicably felt a kind of uneasy feeling. In the next moment, before she could react, the cry of her subordinates rang in her ears. When she turned her head and looked towards the source of the sound, she discovered that a huge figure close to 3 meters in height was floating in front of her. Chapter 330. The Fish King. A level 10 Wisdom Realm Fish King. The Zhen woman looked at the huge Fish King in front of her, and a look of panic flashed in her eyes. It was especially so when her face was reflected in those scarlet eyes of the Fish King. The Zhen woman seemed to have smelled the scent of death. Crack. It only took an instant. The Zhen woman didn't even have the chance to call for help. She was directly cut in half by the Fish King's sharp teeth. The Fish King chewed the half of the corpse in its mouth twice, and a look of excitement flashed in its scarlet eyes. It seemed that the flesh and blood of humans brought it great pleasure. Lin Yuan had never eaten a human before, and there was no need for him to do so. After all, while flesh and blood could provide him with energy for cultivation, after the system extracted the attribute points once, the energy contained in flesh and blood was almost negligible. Therefore, Lin Yuan usually ate to fill his stomach. Eating humans was something that was unacceptable to an existence with a human soul. Therefore, Lin Yuan had no idea what the Fish King was so excited about. However, when the Fish King ate the Zhen woman, Lin Yuan subconsciously began to mobilize all the muscles in his body. After all, the Fish King's strange speed of shuttling through the battlefield as if it was in no man's land was enough to make Lin Yuan very vigilant. Therefore, in a battle, especially a fierce one, even a moment of distraction could make one pay a bloody price. The Zhen woman was a classic example of what not to do. Although she was no match for the Fish King in a head-on battle with her strength at level 9 airborne realm, at the very least, she wouldn't have died in such a humiliating way. With the help of the other members of the embroidered guard, she wouldn't have had any problems keeping herself alive, even if she couldn't kill the Fish King. The Fish King shook its body, and its eyes paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. It suddenly opened its bloody mouth and sneered at Lin Yuan. It was as if it was announcing that Lin Yuan was its next prey. Chen Guanshan was silent for a moment. With a gentle shake of his right hand, a black rope suddenly appeared under his wrist and wrapped around the Fish King. A faint murderous aura circulated between his brows, making him look like a murderous devil. He had seen the Fish King shuttling through the battlefield and appearing behind the Zhen woman. Even he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to escape unscathed from the Fish King's strange speed. But now that the Fish King had targeted Lin Yuan, he had no choice but to take action. The black rope wrapped around the Fish King's tail, and the corners of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled up slightly. It was as if 2 sharp blades were unsheathed to welcome his enemy. The next moment, Chen Guanshan's Heaven Dipper realm momentum broke out instantly. Even Lin Yuan was shocked by his fierce momentum and narrowed his eyes slightly. Next, Chen Guanshan pulled the black rope with one hand, and the other hand touched his waist. A bright and dazzling light suddenly swept out from his waist, like the bright moon in the sky rotating out. The Fish King didn't even have time to react before it was ruthlessly hit by the dazzling light. The next moment, the scales on the left side of the Fish King's body scattered in all directions, and its flesh and blood curled up. More than half of its body was actually cut open. The entire battlefield instantly quieted down. Every time Chen Guanshan attacked, he could kill a large number of fish. But for a Heaven Dipper realm expert, this kind of action was at most a basic move. But at this moment, Chen Guanshan's move caused the other Heaven Dipper realm experts present to be secretly shocked. They secretly compared themselves to the Fish King and suddenly realized that they couldn't dodge this attack at all. However, demonic beasts were demonic beasts after all. The strength of their physiques was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people, and this was even more so for secret realm demonic beasts. These small silver fish had a speed not inferior to Lin Yuan's, even though they were only at the 4th level of the wisdom perception realm. And yet, the wisdom perception realm 10th level fish king could easily shuttle through the chaotic battlefield, pass through hundreds of cultivators, and kill the Jin woman in a mocking manner. This was enough to prove the tyrannical strength of a secret realm demonic beast's physique. Chen Guanshan's attack was very terrifying. Even Lin Yuan couldn't help but admit that other than a monster like him who cultivated the golden body technique, ordinary wisdom perception realm 10th level demonic beasts would basically lose their lives if they encountered this kind of attack. After all, the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent had long neglected the tempering of their physique. Their cultivation methods were more similar to the human world, and they were more proficient in using their innate abilities. Lin Yuan was no exception. However, secret realm demonic beasts were different. They didn't rely on their innate abilities at all. They were more confident in their physique. Although Chen Guanshan's attack had caused the Fish King's flesh to split open, and it was heavily injured, the Fish King only paused for a moment before the wounds on its body began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless granules squirmed on both sides of the wounds. Its terrifying self-healing ability was even comparable to that of the Inferno demonic beasts that Lin Yuan had encountered before. However, the Inferno demonic beasts simply didn't suffer a fatal blow. Therefore, the Fish King's self-healing ability was much stronger than that of the Inferno demonic beast. You really do have some skills. Chen Guanshan whispered softly, and it sounded like he was sighing. Although he had already guessed that the Fish King wouldn't be easy to deal with, he didn't think that the Fish King would have such a terrifying self-healing ability in addition to its extreme speed. In the following battle, if he couldn't directly kill the Fish King with his attacks, then he definitely wouldn't be able to kill the Fish King. He might even be dragged to death by the Fish King. At this moment, the light that injured the Fish King returned to Chen Guanshan's hand, revealing its true appearance. It was a scimitar. Unlike the scimitars of the Shunwu dynasty, the Shunwu dynasty's scimitars were only slightly curved to make it easier to cut through the enemy's body when charging. However, the scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand was completely different. It was almost C-shaped, and this kind of sharp blade was naturally suited for cavalry battles. As long as the horse was fast enough, this scimitar could easily cut off the head of any enemy. However, it was unavoidably laughable to use this kind of scimitar in a ground battle. A single misuse could easily injure the user. Anyone who was slightly familiar with weapons would easily associate it with the Shuangjian dynasty's scimitars. Those existences known as grassland barbarians were accustomed to using these scimitars. Every winter, they would harvest the heads of soldiers and villagers at the borders of the empire, and laughingly bring back their spoils of war to their own tribes. Although the Shuangjian dynasty didn't lack these things, they liked to use this kind of behavior as a way to celebrate the arrival of the new year. After Chen Guanshan revealed this scimitar, the other cultivators more or less revealed hostility when their twilight lights landed on him. Chapter 331. If one were to talk about popularity, the barbarians of the Shuangjian dynasty were the least liked. Chen Guanshan maintained a sneer on his face when he sensed the hostile gazes around him. He had no intention of explaining himself. The Fish King turned its head and glanced at Chen Guanshan. A murderous intent flashed in its scarlet eyes. Although its body was strong enough to withstand Chen Guanshan's attack, the feeling of being almost torn apart was not a pleasant one. Therefore, when the Fish King saw the sneer on Chen Guanshan's face at the moment, it immediately became angrier. Chen Guanshan's movements suddenly froze when he sensed the aura emanating from the Fish King. A thin layer of cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. Chen Guanshan clenched his teeth and all the muscles in his body instantly tensed up. He did his best to resist the cold murderous intent coming from the Fish King. Lin Yuan saw that the situation was not good. He appeared beside Chen Guanshan in a flash. His heterochromatic eyes also fell on the Fish King. Wisps of dragon might emanated from his body, counteracting the murderous intent on the Fish King. The two fish kings entered the battlefield one after the other. The Heaven's Strength Realm experts, who had been keeping quiet, could no longer sit still. They had no choice but to roll up their sleeves and fight the other Fish King with their best skills. After all, if they left the Fish King alone, it was obvious that it was enough to cause great casualties to the airborne realm cultivators on the front lines. In this unknown secret realm, anyone's hands were precious. Even if they were just going out to scout, they could still pave a safe way out by sacrificing their lives. "That black rope of yours is..." A look of surprise flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes as he asked. Someone like Chen Guanshan would not do anything unnecessary. Since he tied the black rope to the Fish King's tail before he made his move, that black rope must have its own function. "War shackles. I got it from the black market," Chen Guanshan replied with a smile. Then, his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, "Once the war chain is wrapped around the combatants, it will end in a fight to the death. Otherwise, no one will be able to untie this black rope. Similarly, no one will be able to leave the range of this black rope." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids to express his understanding. Although the shackles of strife had many drawbacks, it was still a good strategy against an opponent who excelled in speed. It was just that the price of fighting to the death was too great. If not for the fact that the Fish King's target was Lin Yuan and that Chen Guanshan had stopped the Fish King, Lin Yuan might not have interfered. From the moment Chen Guanshan made his move, he was betting that Lin Yuan would not stand by and do nothing. Human nature was complicated, let alone a demonic beast with an unstable mind. The fact that Chen Guanshan could trust Lin Yuan, a demonic beast, was beyond Lin Yuan's expectations. However, while Lin Yuan was still pondering, a black shadow suddenly swept over in front of him. Lin Yuan subconsciously swung his snake tail fiercely. The Fish King clearly did not expect Lin Yuan's reaction to be so fast. In addition, it was moving at such a high speed that it could not dodge at all. It could only take the full brunt of Lin Yuan's snake tail. The snake tail was like a steel whip as it lashed the Fish King's body. Immediately, that huge fish head caved in. 1/3 of the entire skull was sunken, but such an injury did not take the life of the Fish King. The silver-white fish body struggled frantically, and the swinging tail slapped with a terrifying force. Even if Lin Yuan wanted to give the Fish King another stab, he could not get close to it, so he had to look at Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shrugged his shoulders, and an apologetic smile appeared on his face. It was true that he was proficient in hidden weapons, but he had used all his strength to injure the Fish King. Right now, he did not have much strength left, and his earth chi had been squeezed to the point that not a single drop was left. If not for that, how could he have been frozen by the Fish King's cold killing intent? As time passed, the Fish King's injuries healed bit by bit, and the extent of its struggling also slowed down. Lin Yuan saw the opportunity, and his snake body shot out like a bolt of lightning. Its bloody mouth opened wide, and its pair of poisonous fangs flickered with a frightening cold light. It was not that he did not want to use his innate ability to kill the Fish King. However, even if Lin Yuan did not use his innate ability, the Fish King, as a water-type monster, would naturally be on guard against the move that Lin Yuan had used to kill so many small silver-white fish. Thus, Lin Yuan could not control the water around the Fish King at all. Naturally, he could not control the water around the Fish King as he wished. The moment Lin Yuan's fangs were about to reach the Fish King, the Fish King's injuries had completely healed. With a swing of its tail, it once again pulled away from Lin Yuan. Its scarlet eyes carried a hint of mockery, as if it knew all about Lin Yuan's little trick. In the next moment, the war chain in Chen Guanshan's hand was stretched taut. However, no matter how the Fish King moved its body, it could only maintain a distance of less than 100 meters from Chen Guanshan. At this moment, the Fish King's eyes revealed a hint of urgency. After that short exchange, it had already confirmed that it was no match for Lin Yuan. Thus, the Fish King planned to temporarily leave this damned place and wait for a chance to take revenge in the future. However, it did not expect that it could not escape the control of the war chain at all. As Lin Yuan and Chen Guanshan's conversation had been carried out using their minds, the Fish King actually did not know what was restricting it. However, This did not mean that the Fish King was stupid. The black rope on its body was stretched taut, and it was probably because of the black rope that it couldn't move more than 100 meters away from it. Therefore, the Fish King quickly fixed its gaze on Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shook the black rope in his hand, and a dangerous smile appeared on his face. He said in a cold voice, "Big fish, we are now enemies. If you don't kill me, don't even think about leaving this area." The Fish King's eyes turned cold. Just as it was about to attack, its gaze stopped on Lin Yuan. This black snake was more difficult to deal with than it had imagined. "Black snake, you and I are both demonic beasts. We should help each other." "Why help these humans?" The Fish King moved its gaze away from Chen Guanshan and said slowly, "Helping these humans is of no benefit to you. This king can give you another chance. As long as you are willing to leave this battlefield, this king will pretend that nothing happened. How about it? If we are fated to meet again in the future, this king can even give you a big gift." Using righteousness and enticement was a trick that had been used many times outside. However, when the Fish King used it, Lin Yuan did not feel strange at all. It was as if this was what the Fish King should do. Chapter 332. Demonic beasts in the mystic realm weren't stupid, they were just arrogant. The Fish King had been so confident in its victory that it didn't even care about Lin Yuan's battle prowess. But now that it was forced into a corner, if the Fish King still didn't know how to rope in Lin Yuan, it probably wouldn't be able to live long enough to become an intelligence realm class 10 demonic beast. Chen Guanshan sneered as he sized up the Fish King. The mockery in his eyes was almost tangible. He carefully investigated the black serpent. Unlike the condescending investigation of the embroidered guard, he put himself in the black serpent's perspective and pondered little by little. The final conclusion was that the black serpent was a terrifying existence because it never did unnecessary things. For example, at this moment, if Lin Yuan intended to join forces with the Fish King, it would not have chosen to stand on the side of humans from the beginning. Now that the Fish King was at a disadvantage, it was even more impossible for Lin Yuan to stand on its side. Lin Yuan didn't respond to the Fish King, nor did he have any intention of speaking. He just stood quietly beside Chen Guanshan. A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator's recovery speed was very fast. In about 7 or 8 breaths, Chen Guanshan would be able to recover some of his battle prowess. At that time, it would be easy for them to join forces and kill the Fish King. And with Chen Guanshan's help, Lin Yuan's following arrangements would be much smoother. As for the Fish King, it was just a verbal agreement. Once Lin Yuan helped them win the battle, it wouldn't be impossible for them to treat Lin Yuan as food. After all, in the world of demonic beasts, the strong preyed on the weak. Dead existences were quickly forgotten and wouldn't affect the victor at all. "Black Serpent, I can sense the Flood Dragon's bloodline in your body. As long as you help me, I swear on my cultivation that I will help you break through the bloodline shackles and become a true Flood Dragon. How about it?" Seeing that Lin Yuan wasn't moved, the Fish King quickly threw out its biggest bargaining chip. This mystic realm had a way to transform a dragon bloodline demonic beast into a Flood Dragon. Lin Yuan was certain of this. After all, there were at least 7 or 8 Flood Dragons in the territory next to the Fish King. This bloodline shackle wasn't something that could be broken so easily. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's breathing quickened. However, Lin Yuan quickly regained his composure. The opportunity to transform into a Flood Dragon had always been in his hands. Although the woman surnamed Zhen and her husband were dead, and the previous mission had disappeared from the mission list, after the incense model was activated, as long as he accumulated believers and accumulated more incense power, the system would inevitably unlock various subfunctions for him to consume incense power. Therefore, Lin Yuan was not in a hurry at all. "Have you rested well?" After calming down, Lin Yuan looked at Chen Guanshan and asked softly. Chen Guanshan pondered for a moment, then slowly nodded and said, "I still have the strength for one more attack. Moreover, my body has absorbed enough spiritual energy to reach saturation. If this attack doesn't hit, don't count on me." A Heaven's Dipper realm cultivator could absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth constantly to replenish themselves. However, there was always a limit to the amount of spiritual energy they could absorb. If Chen Guanshan consumed spiritual energy to temper his body and meridians bit by bit, it would be fine. However, in this kind of high-intensity battle, Chen Guanshan had absorbed an enormous amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It had even reached a state where his meridians were somewhat overloaded. If he recklessly continued to absorb spiritual energy, then his meridians would very likely collapse and he would directly be reduced to a cripple. The strength for one attack was already something he gritted his teeth and speculated. He was even taking a huge risk. The slightest carelessness could cause his meridians to collapse. However, the Fish King threw out such a huge bargaining chip. If he didn't do as Lin Yuan wished, then Lin Yuan might really give up on his cooperation with the Fish King. Enough. Lin Yuan nodded slightly and softly muttered. As his voice fell, Lin Yuan's snake body shot out like an arrow. The Fish King's speed was indeed very fast. Without entering the state of blood boil, Lin Yuan really didn't have much confidence in catching up to the Fish King. However, the Fish King's range of movement was restricted by the war chain. This was a different situation. Chen Guanshan still had the strength for one more attack. If the Fish King rashly approached Chen Guanshan, it would definitely be heavily injured by this attack. At that time, Lin Yuan could easily kill it. Just like how there was a limit to the amount of spiritual energy Chen Guanshan could absorb, Lin Yuan didn't believe that the Fish King's terrifying self-healing ability had no limit. This king hasn't said anything yet. Do you really think this king is a small fry that you can order around? A pair of heterochromatic vertical pupils fixed on the Fish King. Lin Yuan's pupils blossomed with a golden light. His ice-cold voice contained an unquestionable majesty. Most of the silver fish had been killed by the cultivators. The other Fish King, who had broken out with extreme speed and barely escaped from the encirclement of several Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators, retreated for a distance under the leadership of the other Fish King. Although they were still eyeing this side covetously, everyone could see that the battle between Lin Yuan and the Fish King had decided the following situation. If the Fish King died here, then even if the Fish King was unwilling, they would have to retreat and regroup. However, if the Fish King killed Chen Guanshan under Lin Yuan's nose and successfully broke out of the encirclement, then their every move would be closely watched by these silver fish. If they revealed a little flaw, they would be attacked by these two Fish Kings using their strange speed. When the Fish King saw Lin Yuan rush over, its scarlet eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. After all, for an existence like Lin Yuan, who was only a step away from transforming into a flood dragon, it wasn't very likely that he would give up on the suggestion it gave him. Unless this black snake grasped the method to transform into a flood dragon. However, the Fish King only hesitated for a moment. When it saw Lin Yuan rush over, its eyes clearly revealed a trace of disdain. Its figure flashed, instantly disappearing from its original spot, only leaving behind an afterimage. Lin Yuan didn't get angry that he missed. Looking at the Fish King that was constantly teasing him with afterimages, Lin Yuan decided to no longer look at the Fish King's location. Instead, he focused on the war chain connecting the Fish King and Chen Guanshan. The snake coiled around the war chain. Lin Yuan slowly crawled forward. If the mountain doesn't come to me, then I'll go to the mountain. If this was the Fish King in its free state, Lin Yuan might have already activated the blood boil technique. However, the Fish King was clearly already in his bag. The shackles of war, which had been pulled taut, suddenly went limp. Even though Lin Yuan couldn't see the Fish King that was moving at high speed, he was certain that the Fish King definitely saw the distance between him and Chen Guanshan increase, so it wanted to use this opportunity to turn around and kill Chen Guanshan. It was precisely because the distance between the two sides had decreased that the war chain was in this state. Chapter 333. However, there was no panic in Lin Yuan's eyes. Chen Guanshan was not an existence that could be trampled on. He knew what the Fish King was scheming. It wanted to use this opportunity to get closer to Chen Guanshan. If it could change its speed at the right time, It might be able to grasp the rhythm of the battle and trick Chen Guanshan into making the final attack. Then, it could kill Chen Guanshan before Lin Yuan caught up and break the shackles of war on it. It's about time. Lin Yuan, the Fish King, and Chen Guanshan silently calculated the time in their minds. The scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand lit up with a dazzling light. Although he still couldn't see the Fish King's figure, Chen Guanshan was certain that the Fish King was right in front of him. The Fish King narrowed its eyes slightly. Its speed, which was already too fast to be captured by the naked eye, increased by a few notches. Under such extreme speed, the water flow was even split apart by its momentum. This was also purposely giving Chen Guanshan a chance to face the pressure head-on, making it easier to trick Chen Guanshan into unleashing his final attack. Here. Chen Guanshan didn't hesitate at all, throwing out the scimitar in his hand. It's done. The Fish King opened its eyes, and its already extremely fast speed increased again. In the blink of an eye, the Fish King had already crossed a certain distance. It looked like it was about to leave the range of Chen Guanshan's scimitar. However, at this moment, Lin Yuan, who had been motionless all this time, suddenly raised his head. His heterochromatic eyes lit up with an azure light. The water around the Fish King instantly rippled. Balls of water gathered together, forming a huge wall of water that blocked the Fish King's path. Boom! The rapidly flying Fish King slammed into the wall of water. The wall of water exploded under the Fish King's charge. Blood flowed out of the Fish King's head, rising in the water under Lin Yuan's control. It was like a bewitching devil's snare blooming. At this moment, Chen Guanshan's scimitar arrived with a whistling sound. The scimitar, which was obviously made by a craftsman from the Shuangjian dynasty, did not cut through half of the Fish King's body this time. Instead, it ruthlessly embedded itself into the Fish King's head. For a hidden weapon master like Chen Guanshan, if he didn't have at least 70% confidence, he naturally wouldn't casually release his final strike. However, he sensed something from Lin Yuan's sudden motionless actions. Thus, after making a brief prediction based on the Fish King's initial speed, he unhesitatingly threw out this blade. This was his trust in Lin Yuan. He believed that Lin Yuan wouldn't just stand by and watch. As long as he threw the knife, Lin Yuan would find a way to make his knife land on the Fish King's body. And reality proved that his gamble was correct. Lin Yuan didn't give the Fish King a chance to recover. Under his control, the water turned into a dragon that roared towards the Fish King. Clearly, he didn't plan to continue fighting with the Fish King. The spectating cultivators didn't doubt that if Lin Yuan's attack landed, no matter how tough the Fish King's life was, it definitely wouldn't be able to withstand Lin Yuan's method. The Fish King used the same trick again. As it swung its tail, it firmly restricted the flow of the water around it. It clearly didn't give Lin Yuan any chance to take advantage of it. Even though it knew that Lin Yuan had already used his methods and was ready to take its life at any time, the Fish King really couldn't think of any other methods it could use in this situation. After all the demonic beasts in the secret territory cultivated their physical strength. Although their physical fitness was much higher than that of a demonic beast like Lin Yuan, the Fish King had no way to deal with the various mysterious means of a foreign demonic beast like Lin Yuan. Pa! The tail viciously whipped the water dragon, instantly dispersing the dragon head. However, what was revealed was Lin Yuan's incomparably thick snake tail after revealing his true body. For an existence like Lin Yuan, who was hundreds of meters long, the 3-meter-long Fish King was indeed a bit weak. Almost no one doubted that under Lin Yuan's snake tail, the Fish King could vanish into thin air at any time. However, in reality, the Fish King didn't choose to face Lin Yuan head-on. Its wildly swinging tail lightly collided with Lin Yuan's snake tail. Borrowing the force, the Fish King's body flew nearly 6 meters. Its body spun about 5 times in the water before barely stabilizing its body. Interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes once again emitted a golden glow. The pitch-black scales on his body lit up with specks of golden light like starlight. His figure once again swept towards the Fish King's area. This secret realm monster was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Even after being forced to this point, it still had the strength to resist the killing move he had prepared. In order to avoid Lin Yuan's tail attack, The Fish King's scimitar had sunk even deeper into its head. The Fish King let out a furious roar. Its gaze lingered on Lin Yuan for a moment. It didn't hide the hatred in its eyes. Once again, it swung its tail at Lin Yuan. It didn't believe that Lin Yuan's snake tail was as hard as his head. Boom! The fish tail collided with the snake head. The turbulent water shot out in all directions. Chen Guanshan, who couldn't dodge in time, was hit by the turbulent water on his shoulder, abdomen, and other parts. In an instant, a large amount of blood gushed out and mixed into the water. At the same time, Chen Guanshan lowered his head and half-knelt on the ground. He didn't move for a long time. However, the war chain was still in place. Therefore, Lin Yuan could determine that Chen Guanshan wasn't dead. At most, he had just fainted. Lin Yuan floated in his original position, unmoving. On the other hand, the Fish King was once again pushed back more than 10 meters. The war chain was shaken by the Fish King as it was sent flying. Clearly, if it weren't for the war chain restraining it, Lin Yuan's attack would have sent it flying even further. However, this wasn't the end. The azure light in Lin Yuan's eyes lit up again. The water surrounding Lin Yuan surged and quickly gathered into a large blade made entirely of water beside the Fish King. It directly slashed at the Fish King. The Fish King sneered twice. Just as it was about to dodge again, it found that the water around it had turned into a rope. It tightly wrapped around its body, directly restricting its next move. If it were a human cultivator, they would have broken out in cold sweat. However, the Fish King clearly didn't have sweat glands. Therefore, it could only widen its eyes and watch the large blade made of water slash at it. Fart! In just an instant, the Fish King's head and body were split in two. A large amount of blood gushed out, dyeing a large area of the water red. Until the moment of its death, the Fish King couldn't understand how Lin Yuan could control the water around it. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.